Good morning, everyone. Andrew Douglas in the Action News 5 digital desk for Tuesday. It's March 21st, and yesterday it was super cold. Didn't feel like the first day of spring. Today, it's much warmer, I should say, significantly warmer. But as you can see from our High 5 camera at downtown Memphis, it is cloudy, it is wet and rainy across various parts of the Mid-South. 46 degrees. Yesterday was 27, so almost a 20-degree difference. It's just rainy here, but we know about spring showers, bringing May flowers, that sort of thing. That's a look from our High 5 camera in Midtown Memphis, where cloud cover is certainly the phrase of the day here, or at least the phrase of the morning. So we're going to be expecting more showers kind of on and off throughout much of the day. Meteorologist Brittany Bryant has more on that.
Good morning. A weather system bringing some rain into the Mid-South. We'll get two rounds, one moving through early this morning, and next one just now making its way through Oklahoma City. So that one will be mostly moving north of us, but will still be some downpours. So let's talk timing. Again, this morning we have rain. You might dry out for a little bit, but then around noon, more showers move in here on First Alert Futurecast, and you'll have that chance for rain continuing on and off through at least 5 o'clock if you're in West Tennessee or Eastern Arkansas. Notice 5 here. We start to see some of that rain clearing, but I bet we'll still have a few isolated downpours, especially up towards Dyersburg and Ripley and going into Blytheville through around midnight and 1 a.m. You may even see a few light spotty showers in some spots tomorrow morning, but then the rest of the day Wednesday looks dry. You may even get a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. 20% chance of rain on Thursday, and then a 60% chance of rain on Friday before we finally clear everything out for the weekend. So let's talk about that Friday rain chance. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Dry as you're kicking off your day, but then those showers start to move in after lunchtime. By 3 o'clock is what you're looking at here. Widespread rain in Eastern Arkansas, West Tennessee, showers starting to arrive in DeSoto County, and then rain is on and off all the way through 7 o'clock at night. May even have a few thunderstorms as this rolls through, especially between 3 and 7. By 11 o'clock, rain continues in West Tennessee and North Mississippi, but it'll be mostly coming to an end as we get closer to midnight. So on Friday, as I mentioned, there is a chance for some thunderstorms. Right now, about a 2 out of 5 for that severe weather risk. So on the lower end, this does include Memphis and the rest of North Mississippi and even some spots in Eastern Arkansas. Main threat would be damaging wind gusts. So certainly something we're monitoring, but looking over everything this morning, greatest threat really looks like it's going to be south of us into North Mississippi, something that we'll watch. There's also some heavy rain expected on Friday, about 2 inches in Memphis, could be up to 3 inches in Wynne and Blytheville. This is definitely on the higher side for those rainfall totals, but I always like to prepare for more and then hopefully we get less, right? Flash flooding doesn't look like a major issue, but something that I'll be watching as the system moves through on Friday for sure in the afternoon and into the evening. Today we're at 51 degrees, but a warm front is the reason for the rain tonight and tomorrow. So we'll end up with temperatures rising overnight. It'll be around 52 initially, but by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, probably around 60. The high tomorrow, 70 degrees, 75 on Thursday, and then 71 on Friday. And that cold front on Friday, really not going to do much to temperatures. We'll drop down to around 52 on Friday night, so we get a little cooler for those low temperatures compared to the night before, but high temperatures still at around 70 degrees on Saturday and Sunday.
Hey, Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 digital desk. There's some new research out there that shows a key role that immigrants play in 13 states when it comes to health care. We know health care is a growing industry, and it is going to continue to grow, and so there is a constant need, a demand for workers in that industry. Let's bring in Steve Hubbard with the American Immigration Council to discuss more about these recent findings with this research. Steve, good morning. Tell us more about this research.
Yeah, so we looked at immigrants and how important they are to the healthcare system across 13 states. And of course, Tennessee was one of those states that we looked at. And we wanted to ensure that we looked at healthcare practitioners, and these are medical doctors, nurses, medical technicians, and how important they are to the healthcare system within Tennessee. And we found that within the healthcare system, that 5.9% of healthcare workers, healthcare practitioners were immigrants to this in Tennessee. And more specifically, physicians, it was 18.7% of physicians and surgeons were immigrants within Tennessee's healthcare system. So overall, when you're looking at shortages in the healthcare system, it's important to think about how the important that immigrants play in the labor force within Tennessee's healthcare system, and specifically looking at policies and other areas that encourage immigrants to come to the state, and for immigrants to stay in the state and work within the healthcare system.
There was a lot of shortage of workers on so many different industries for the better part of a year or so. Is there a shortage of workers needed in the healthcare industry? And if so, how are immigrants meeting the demand there?
So when we looked at the overall increase in job postings, of online job postings, we compared 2017 to 2021, and we saw the increase in job postings rise about a little over 30%. For healthcare practitioners. And so that shows that there's a demand, and some of the specifics when you looked at specific occupations, you saw even higher increases, even things like over 500% increases in job postings for opticians, 80% for dentists. So there seems to be, when you're looking at the job demand within Tennessee and as well as other states across the country, you're seeing a great demand for job postings in those occupations.
This next stat I thought was a no-brainer. The demand for bilingual healthcare workers is on the rise. Tell me about that sector.
Yeah, we're seeing that, of course, all over the United States. In Tennessee, we saw an increase in bilingual, when you looked at the job postings and they required bilingual communication skills, that increased over 200%. In the number of job postings. So that is an important skill that is needed. Of course, when you look at immigrants, many times they, of course, if they're coming in and if they're Spanish speaking or another, French speaking or what have you from their country, they already have that skill. Of course, they already have that bilingual skill, that language skill that makes them, attractive for those type of positions.
Okay, and then I understand there's a growing need for healthcare workers in several different states, but in some cases, I'm understanding they can't practice in the state. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so it's sometimes you will have someone who has been trained internationally from another country, and maybe they can meet our standards of meeting those requirements, but they do not specifically have a U.S. medical degree, but they meet the standards, the board standards. They are comparable to other physicians in their skills. And sometimes they can't practice. And we've seen that in states have moved policies, for instance, in Minnesota and Washington, have moved policies to encourage internationally trained medical professionals to work in the state as long as they meet the requirements needed to practice medicine or to be nurses or what have you within the state.
Steve Hubbard, American Immigration Council. We really appreciate these new findings from this research. Thanks very much for coming on the Digital Desk. Okay, Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Roughly 70% of the world's fresh water is used in agricultural production, but extreme weather is really making it tougher to grow crops these days. We are marking this year the 30th annual World Water Day. It is March 22nd, and there's a deep connection between our water and our food. It has never been more critical. Let's bring in someone to discuss a recent poll finding. Miora McDonald, Director of Environment Program at the Walton Family Foundation, joins us on the Digital Desk. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for having me. I know you guys are in Memphis at the you're sitting there at the Mississippi River.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us the results of this Morning Consult poll that really kind of did a deep dive into some of the research we're talking about.
Yeah, so we're at the Walton Family Foundation, we focus on this connection between water, food, and climate. And we really focus on agriculture because that's at the center of that. And agriculture is our biggest user and our biggest polluter of water. So on World Water Day this week and every week, we think it's important to think about how we can improve agricultural practices in order to protect water. And so at the Walton Family Foundation, we focus on coming together with farmers and government and companies, food companies that want to support that transition to more sustainable agricultural practices. And the good news from the poll is that Americans overwhelmingly want to support farmers to make that transition.
Moira, it just seems that there are so many things that are interconnected in our world today. Can you talk about the connection between our water, our food, and the climate?
Yeah, so I think people always find it surprising that 70% of our fresh water is used in agricultural production. And as I mentioned, that makes water both the biggest user of fresh water, but also the biggest polluter of fresh water. So in the long run, improving the quality of our agricultural practices and making better use of our water resources are totally intertwined. They're intertwined for us to have a safe drinking water into the future and also to have, safe and healthy food into the future. So at the Walton Family Foundation, we try to help figure out what are the low-hanging fruit for farmers to make that transition to more sustainable practices. We spend a lot of time on cover crops. Cover crops are a crop that farmers can grow after they harvest their main crop in the fall and before they plant their next crop in the spring. These cover crops green up really fast in the spring and they protect our soil. Particularly during those heavy spring storms that want to carry away our soil resources that are so critical for farmers in terms of their future economic health. And carrying away that soil is also terrible for our water resources. It's terrible for our water quality. So that's why we try to come together with others to help farmers get that right set of technical support and also financial support to try to make that transition to better practices over time.
So March 22nd is World Water Day, the 30th anniversary here. How should we mark that day or recognize it?
Well, I think you all, with the Mississippi at your doorstep, should get out and figure out if you can go kayak on the Mississippi or just take a walk along it. But, we know people all over the country want to, people love their rivers and their oceans and their lakes, and they want to go out and recreate and spend time there. But we also know that water is that lens through which most Americans are experiencing climate change, whether that's droughts in the West or more intense storms on the coasts or flooding in the center of the country. We know that water is that first line of climate change, and that because agriculture is such an important user of water, that making those changes to agriculture are really the key to being able to support our water resources for the long term. And that poll that you mentioned, that Morning Consult poll, just told us that 76% of voters support helping farmers make changes that support land, water, and health in their agricultural practices. So as you celebrate World Water Day, I want you to get out there and go for a hike, but I also want you to think about supporting farmers that are trying to take better care of our water.
That sounds great. So we have thousands of people that watch us here on our digital channel here, Moira. Where can they go to get more information about this topic?
I'd love for them to come to our website at waltonfamilyfoundation.org. We have a lot of information there on that connection between water, food, and climate, and we'd love to help you learn more.
Okay, Moira McDonald, Director of the Environment Program at the Walton Family Foundation. We really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you as well. Appreciate that. So we are just getting started here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I want to show you some of the things that are coming up later this hour. State troopers with the Tennessee Highway Patrol are out in full force. Perhaps you've seen some on your commutes throughout the interstates here. We're going to tell you about how Governor Bill Lee is hoping to boost recruiting efforts in the state of Tennessee. Plus, there's a federal watchdog group that says they believe unemployment fraud during the pandemic, get this, topped $60 billion. Unemployment fraud during the pandemic, $60 billion. We'll be able to kind of see what our national investigative team uncovered. And we're going to tell you about an upcoming career expo geared to help the youth in our area get a job on the spot. We got details on that. But first, I want to go to this story. 4 people are in police custody after an incident on South Main yesterday evening. This is Memphis police say 4 men assaulted a 5th man outside 121 South Main. The victim was taken to the hospital to be checked out, expected to be okay. Officers then brought in 4 people into custody. One witness described exactly what she saw.
4 guys pulled up in a car and jumped out and just started jumping him. They jumped back in the car. He fell to the ground and had a seizure. Maybe like a couple of minutes later, they came and circled back, but the cops had gotten there by then, and then I guess caught him. I think 2 of them maybe getting away.
No word yet on the charges the men could face or what led to that assault. I want to tell you about there was a school resource officer that's facing charges accused of hitting a student with his baton. We want to show you a picture here. Investigators say the officer is O'Kenny Bailey. He met the student in the hallway. They exchanged words. Investigators say Bailey then hit the student with his baton several times on the shoulder, arm, and leg. Principal reported this incident to police the next day. Investigators say Bailey had another altercation with that same student less than 2 weeks later. And this Memphis Shelby County School District released this statement saying, quote, MSCS is appalled by the conduct of anyone who violates the rights of students and takes swift action in such cases. Following a prompt internal investigation in 2022, Bailey was terminated immediately. He's also facing charges of aggravated assault and reckless endangerment. Now let's stay with the Memphis Shelby County School District here, because there is going to be the state of the district address later this morning. So we have Interim Superintendent Tony Williams expected to share how the school and the community can win together, and just an update on the health and the vitality of the district overall. That begins at 9 o'clock this morning. Okay, a search for answers this morning, and a family is grieving after a woman who was shot and killed during an encounter with Shelby County deputies. The family of the woman killed in Bartlett back on Saturday want to know exactly what happened. Bria Bolden has more on this.
43-year-old Melissa Horton was shot and killed in Bartlett Saturday. 2 days later, her family and friends questioning how it all happened.
It's just, this is the saddest thing. You know, you say it can't happen to you. It's not going to happen to you. It'll never happen to me. But it can happen, and it's happening all over the country and all over Memphis.
Horton and her fiance, Preston Morris, were to be married in July. Morris says he and Horton got into a fight early Saturday. The Fayette County Sheriff's Office says they responded to a domestic violence call at their home, where they say Horton pulled a shotgun on her fiance and struck him in the head with it. She took off, and deputies put out a broadcast to other agencies.
She, of course, when you've been drinking, you don't want to go to rehab and stuff, But, we got in an altercation, and she left the house mad, and then everything else, it's questionable what happened after that.
Shelby County deputies spotted Horton's car and stopped her on Ellis Road near Golden Valley Lane in Bartlett. Shots were fired. Horton was killed, according to the TBI. What happened between the stop and the shooting remains a mystery. Horton's family and friends, like Kristen Ray, are devastated for the mom of 3 girls, the soon-to-be bride who loved her family, Ole Miss football, and her dog Scarlett.
She was a good mom. She loved her girls. But there are many questions that we have that we want answers to, and I think the truth needs to come out, and I want it to come out, and a lot of people want to know what really happened.
Her birthday falls on Easter Sunday, and we bought this beautiful dress to wear for, Easter Sunday church services, and it's just tragic that this happened, and she can't even wear it. She was one of a kind. I mean, it's just, she's unreplaceable. The beautiful soul that she had.
Well, we asked the TBI if Horton was armed in her car or perhaps fired at deputies. They told us the investigation is active and ongoing, and information reported this weekend is the extent of what they can say.
So have you been able to check out the latest edition of Memphis Magazine? Turn through the pages. There's so many great articles in this month's edition, and we're going to be talking about one of them this morning. Joining us here at the Action News 5 digital desk is Abigail Morisi. She is the arts editor for Memphis Magazine. Abigail, good morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm glad to have you on here. We always enjoy these interviews with Memphis Magazine, Memphis Flyer. Y'all always have a good pulse on what's happening here in the community, especially the arts community. I'm looking forward to diving in and talking more to you about this piece about Jean Siegel. I understand it's about how she went from commercial literature to now her first exhibition over at the Dixon, her first solo expedition. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so Jean Siegel, do y'all hear an echo?
Hearing it. I'm not hearing an echo.
So Jean Siegel, she started out doing, like you said, commercial illustration. She even illustrated for the magazine, for the Flyer, and now she has her own exhibit in the Dixon Museum, and she's so excited because it's like her first time being in a museum setting, and this is what she's wanted to do throughout her whole career, throughout her whole life, is like be able to have her art like in public facing settings and be able to show that side of her rather than being dictated what to do for like illustrations for a magazine or for the Flyer. And the choices she's made, they've been like beautiful. They're like landscapes across the river, and she just takes these beautiful sketches and she details them, these trees, and she does watercolors, which are a little bit less detailed, but they're still like gorgeous to look at, obviously. Yeah.
I think it's great. I love to see the different types of materials that she uses, from watercolor to the black and white, and it really kind of brings the art alive. And so when you were talking to her, what were some of the things that she said? What was it that, just about how exciting this was to be able to have this exhibit now?
Yeah, I mean, she was just glowing. Like her smile on her face was so big when she was talking about the black and white drawings in particular, because that's what she's really excited about. And she's like, this is what's been most successful for me. I think that means like both financially and, personally, because the trees have a lot of like meaning for her. That's where she would meet up with her boyfriend across the river of the trees, and she grew up in like forested area. And so like being able to bring back her childhood, but also like her current husband and their love. And yeah, she's just, I think, beaming. She's beaming. It was lovely speaking with her.
And it's such a tough journey. I mean, for someone that takes on a career as an artist. And so to see kind of where she started, where she is now, and for her to be showcasing at the Dixon, it just has to be kind of full circle for her. Is that kind of what it seemed like for you? I mean, from just talking with her?
She would talk about like, her days as like a poor artist. Making illustrations for the magazine, the Flyer, didn't pay much. And she had also talked about, the misogyny back in the day and how like the men would get paid more or have bigger opportunities with our own magazine. But now she's able to overcome that, I guess. And like you said, be in a museum, and that's exciting to have like her due, because she definitely deserves that. And yeah.
And from what I understand, it looks like the exhibit is very inspired by the area she's grown up around and called home. Is that right?
It's inspired by across the river in Dacus Lake. That's where like her boyfriend, or now husband, her boyfriend at the time, lived, and I think that's where she like fell in love with nature, because she had grown up in Arkansas, like over by a really forested area, and so being brought back to nature, which is something that she loves. She loves to hike and she loves to just be outside, and so being back there with someone that she like is deeply in love with was just something that I think re-inspired her. That's how she explained it to me.
For sure, it was personal. It was personal. I grew up taking art, so I love to see kind of the different materials and just the color and hearing her story, and like you said, being a woman, kind of trying to make her mark. It's interesting to hear these kind of stories. And you know, Abigail, I know we've had you here on the Digital Desk before, and I love going through these stories, by the way. I think they're great, and of course people can read more about it in this month's edition of Memphis Magazine. They need to go subscribe. Tell us a little bit about you. I know you oversee the arts column. Are you from Memphis? And how did you end up kind of covering this as your beat?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm from New Orleans, but I went to Rhodes, and that's how I came to know Memphis.
Yeah.
But I've always loved the arts. Like when I was little, I was always drawing and painting, and at one point, I wanted to become an artist. But I think over time, I just grew more interested in writing. And how I started writing for the arts, I think they had an empty spot, and I was like, I'll take it. I'll write something. The first thing I wrote about was a professor at U of M who did these really zoomed in pictures of particles or metals. And from there, I just kind of was like, this is what I want to do, because, it's combining what I used to love to do and what I now love to do. And I get to be creative and fun. And yeah, it's been really exciting to meet all these artists, and they're so cool. Everyone I meet and talk to, they're so interesting.
I bet. I can only imagine. For me, so I'm kind of like you. I was really into art growing up. I loved, I took all the classes in high school. I took some in college. I went to U of M. And for me, this is now my way of being creative, and my form of self-expression is, I film video. I do a lot of video editing and things. So it's interesting to see someone kind of on the same end of things. And now you're telling a lot of these artists' stories. And I'm sure that that's really cool to be able to dig down and share kind of what they've been through and whatnot. Anything that stood out from this piece, or something that maybe didn't make the cut, that you want to share with people watching this morning?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, like I said, she's such a lovely woman to talk to, Jean, and talking with her, and she's so humble about it. Even her watercolors, she's like, well, this is more of a hobby of mine. I just kind of threw them in the show to add color. And you're like, these are very beautiful. Why would you, demote that? Yeah, but it's a lovely show, and I definitely recommend seeing it. She'll be speaking at the Dixon right before it closes at some point in time. So
nice. Yeah. And how long is her exhibit going to be on display?
Until April 9th.
Okay, great. So people have time. They can go out there and check out her artwork. Well, that's awesome. Well, Abigail Morisi, we appreciate having you here on the Digital Desk. I hope to have you back on real soon. And you have a great rest of your morning, all right?
Thank you. You too.
All right, despite the economic downturn, there is a new report out there that shows private equity is boosting local businesses, and we want to bring in someone to talk about this particular investment more specifically. Let's bring in now Jamal Hagler. He's Vice President of Research for American Investment Council. Jamal, thanks for joining us on the Digital Desk. Tell us exactly what private equity is and how it's different from other investments. Good morning.
Well, Andrew, good morning, and thank you for having me. So private equity is different than other investments because with private equity investors give money, but they also provide their expertise. They roll up their sleeves and they help businesses navigate any challenges or anything that may come their way. Additionally, they help to open up new supply chains as well as find additional avenues for sale. So private equity managers really partner with the businesses that they purchase to help them grow and create jobs throughout the country.
Yeah, I mean, so many business owners look for support during the pandemic, and I guess this was one of the ways that they could get support from some of the private sector there. What are the benefits, private equity businesses and investments in Tennessee? What are some of those benefits, and what are some examples where private equity backed companies in our state here?
Wow. In 2022 alone, about $19 billion was invested in Tennessee and 148 companies, companies like True Green and Southern Towing Company. And that capital helps businesses to navigate any challenges that they would encounter. It also is helpful to build new facilities, hire new employees, look for new avenues of new products, and additional helping with lowering cost of supplies and things of that nature.
So let me ask you this, Jamal. We've been talking about how the private equity has been helping some of these businesses. Can you tell us about this report that we're hearing about with some of the key findings? Apparently, this is the new report from the American Investment Council. Tell me that.
Yes. So I think the number one takeaway is that private equity invests in every state and every congressional district throughout the country. Additionally, I think while many people think of private equity and may think of larger businesses, the vast majority of investments are in smaller businesses. 46% of investments went to companies with 100 employees or less, and approximately 62% of investments went to small businesses. So I think one thing that people should remember is that private equity helps small businesses grow and expand and reach new horizons.
Let's talk about elected leaders and how they can help facilitate private equity investments in our area, not just Tennessee, but of course we broadcast to areas of Mississippi and in Arkansas.
Well, I think the number one thing is stability. I think you can't change the rules of the road in the middle. And I think, things that would disrupt what's already known and can affect the ability to invest and the ability to put capital to work to benefit communities, workers, and businesses alike.
Okay. Jamal, is there any place where people can go and get some more information on what we discussed and perhaps do a deep dive for themselves?
Absolutely. If you want to check out the report, please go to investmentcouncil.org.
Okay, Jamal Hagler, Vice President of Research for the American Investment Council. We appreciate your time, Jamal. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Hey, good morning. A weather system bringing some rain into the Mid-South. We'll get two rounds, one moving through early this morning, and next one just now making its way through Oklahoma City. So that one will be mostly moving north of us, but will still be some downpours. So let's talk timing. Again, this morning we have rain. You might dry out for a little bit, but then around noon, more showers move in here on First Alert Futurecast, and you'll have that chance for rain continuing on and off through at least 5 o'clock if you're in West Tennessee or Eastern Arkansas. Notice 5 here. We start to see some of that rain clearing, but I bet we'll still have a few isolated downpours, especially up towards Dyersburg and Ripley and going into Blytheville through around midnight and 1 a.m. You may even see a few light spotty showers in some spots tomorrow morning, but then the rest of the day, Wednesday, looks dry. You may even get a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. 20% chance of rain on Thursday, and then a 60% chance of rain on Friday before we finally clear everything out for the weekend. So let's talk about that Friday rain chance. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Dry as you're kicking off your day, but then those showers start to move in after lunchtime. By 3 o'clock is what you're looking at here. Widespread rain in Eastern Arkansas, West Tennessee, showers starting to arrive in DeSoto County, and then rain is on and off all the way through 7 o'clock at night. May even have a few thunderstorms as this rolls through, especially between 3 and 7. By 11 o'clock, rain continues in West Tennessee and North Mississippi, but it'll be mostly coming to an end as we get closer to midnight. So on Friday, as I mentioned, there is a chance for some thunderstorms. Right now, about a 2 out of 5 for that severe weather risk. So on the lower end, this does include Memphis and the rest of North Mississippi and even some spots in eastern Arkansas. Main threat would be damaging wind gusts. So certainly something we're monitoring, but looking over everything this morning, greatest threat really looks like it's going to be south of us into North Mississippi, something that we'll watch. There's also some heavy rain expected on Friday, about 2 inches in Memphis, could be up to 3 inches in Wynne and Blytheville. This is definitely on the higher side for those rainfall totals, but I always like to prepare for more and then hopefully we get less, right? Flash flooding doesn't look like a major issue, but something that I'll be watching as the system moves through on Friday for sure in the afternoon and into the evening. Today we're at 51 degrees, but a warm front is the reason for the rain tonight and tomorrow. So we'll end up with temperatures rising overnight. It'll be around 52 initially, but by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, probably around 60. The high tomorrow, 70 degrees, 75 on Thursday, and then 71 on Friday. And that cold front on Friday, really not going to do much to temperatures. We'll drop down to around 52 on Friday night, so we get a little cooler for those low temperatures compared to the night before, but high temperatures still at around 70 degrees on Saturday and Sunday.
We definitely have to work with our prosecution to make sure that they pay the ultimate penalty, to make sure that we keep the people that are here safe and the people that they commit these crimes against feel get some type of justice. And right now, with Officer Johnson's family, they are not feeling that they get justice regardless of what the situation may be.
So the mayor's disclosed that he's actually related to the widow of the late police officer Johnson, saying they're hurting right now. He doesn't know if Parker has any intention to return to West Memphis, but if he does, he hopes he doesn't commit these acts like he did, the same acts in 2018. I want to show you this. This is a picture of the M Bridge. It was lit up for World Down Syndrome Awareness Day. It's meant to bring support for those living it with it along with their families. We have a section on actionnews5.com where you can share your pictures with us this morning. We want to see those bright and loving smiles for sure. You drive anywhere in Memphis and Shelby County lately and you will see them. We're talking about state troopers with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. They are out in full force. You may recall that the Memphis City Council asked Governor Bill Lee to send more troopers to the Memphis area to be out and about around the interstates. Action News 5's Joyce Peterson shares how the governor answered that call.
We're looking for speeders, anybody that's zooming in and out of traffic.
Lieutenant Devontae Quinn joined the Tennessee Highway Patrol during the pandemic. Monday, he was one of 66 troopers serving the Memphis district.
It's an honor to do this job. Our main goal is to make citizens feel safe on the interstates, highways. Everyone should be able to get in their vehicles and feel safe.
Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland and the City Council asked the state for more THP manpower back in 2020 after a surge in interstate shootings. The mayor has noticed all the blue lights lately.
I'm thrilled, and I texted the governor and thanked him for the increased presence here. People are starting to notice. I know some people have gotten tickets.
Shelby Countyans are definitely noticing. shooting. Tickets are being written like crazy. This Nextdoor post started off, "Excellent work. Great job. Wonderful," read the replies. "Had to go to Lowe's on Summer," wrote another, counted 9 troopers. Now, while the city asked THP to help patrol I-40 and I-240, you will also see troopers on city and county streets that are also state routes, like Summer, Union, Poplar, Germantown Parkway, Jackson, Lamar, and Walnut Grove. Yes, saw trooper writing a ticket on Walnut Grove. Finally, something positive in Cordova, writes this Nextdoor poster. "I feel like the drag racing has gotten a little quieter lately," writes another. Lieutenant Quinn quickly realized the extra enforcement is welcome.
Just to see the smiles on some of the citizens' face, they come up and talk to us when they see us out in public, just to see the smile and the gratitude and the thanks and the appreciation, really, it makes us feel like we're doing a good job.
For years, people spent hours in the sun trying to get a healthy glow. These days, we know that exposure to UV rays can be a risk factor for cancer.
Up until not that long ago, metastatic melanoma was a uniformly fatal disease. If you had it, you usually died of it within a few years.
Now, doctors can treat metastatic melanoma 2 ways: with immunotherapy, using a person's immune system to fight cancer, or for patients with a specific gene mutation called the BRAF mutation targeted therapy. Doctors have been prescribing either to patients with the gene mutation. The DREAMseq trial proved the order or sequence of the treatment matters.
Patients who received immunotherapy first had a significantly better survival than patients who received targeted therapy first.
Doctors say the sequence of treatment with immunotherapy first should become the standard of care. If immunotherapy doesn't work, doctors should then follow with targeted therapy.
And that will result in more people being alive at 5 and 10 years.
Big steps in treating a once untreatable disease. Doctors say about 50% of metastatic melanoma patients have the BRAF gene, so this finding is expected to have big implications for so many patients out there. With ways to live your best life, I'm Andrew Douglas, Action News 5. Memphis City Council will meet this afternoon to discuss an ordinance on changing the qualifications to become Memphis mayor. This comes after candidates Sheriff Floyd Bonner, NAACP Memphis President Van Turner, both filed lawsuits over residency requirements for Memphis Mayor Harrington. Former Memphis Mayor Willie Harrington is also caught up with this ordinance. The meeting is expected to start at 1:15 this afternoon. House Bill 883 addressing abortion is now on its way to the Tennessee State Senate. State House lawmakers passed the bill yesterday 83-11. With all of its amendments, the bill would add exceptions for the life of the mother, including the decriminalization of abortions performed to prevent the death or irreversible harm to the mother. Meanwhile, the Tennessee State Senate also voted 19-7 to keep Randy McNally as lieutenant governor after it was revealed he made frequent posts and comments on and Instagram photos that were posted by a young gay male. Now, McNally made a statement about this yesterday. I want to pull that up here. You can see it. It says, quote, "I've always been honored, humbled, and grateful for the support of my caucus. I remain so today. We have a lot of important work left to do as we complete this legislative session, including the budget. I look forward to getting to it." So the 79-year-old has served in the Tennessee State Legislature since 1979. It's a system we all pay into, federal unemployment. And now this morning, as we've been talking about earlier, a federal watchdog group says It believes unemployment fraud during the pandemic topped $60 billion, a huge number. And one woman wants to know the plan for the next emergency after stacks of unemployment letters with various people's names on it were delivered to her home. Our national investigative team, Carice Jackman explains.
It's a strange type of junk mail that made Elena Schneider nervous and concerned.
I thought our information was compromised.
In 2020, when the country was shut down because of the pandemic and millions of Americans filed for unemployment, strange letters started flooding Schneider's mailbox from her state's unemployment office in California, addressed to people she didn't know.
The names were just so weird, the origin of the first name and the origin of the last name did never match.
She says she never opened them, but recognized the envelopes as the same type her husband received when he applied for unemployment during the pandemic.
There was no stopping, we reported all these, we sent it back. We wrote attention director, nothing ever happened.
Even more troubling, some of the letters that started coming to her address were from out-of-state unemployment offices. If you think what Schneider experienced is bizarre, it matches what experts tell us they've heard from people across the country. The U.S. Government Accountability Office, or GAO, released its new analysis. It found several examples of unemployment insurance fraud, including claims filed in multiple states. The letters mailed to Schneider's home were never addressed to her or her husband, so for her, these strange letters are a security concern.
First, agencies should have been much better prepared.
In February, the U.S. House Oversight Committee and the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee held hearings to address waste, fraud, and abuse with COVID relief programs. Representative James Comer from Kentucky is chairman of the House Oversight Committee.
We're going to see if there's a way that we can claw some of this money back that was stolen to fraudsters and cyber hackers, and we're going to see if we can hold people accountable for wrongdoing.
Republicans blame the Biden administration, while Democrats blame the Trump administration for not addressing fraud from the beginning. Democrats also stress how pandemic relief programs helped millions of Americans during a rough time period.
I know you guys have been feeling pressure from Republicans saying that you guys waited too long to do something or address it. What would your response be to that, Mr. Sperling?
Well, I think the president has a non-vulgar phrase called malarkey.
After months of asking for an on-camera interview, we spoke with Gene Sperling, White House coordinator of the American Rescue Plan. This month, the administration announced it's introducing a 3-part pandemic anti-fraud proposal.
One, we had $600 million for enforcement to go after the most serious criminals. Number two, $600 million for prevention to prevent identity theft going forward. And three, funds to help victims of identity theft who wake up one day and realize someone's stolen their identity and their credit is ruined because of it.
As for Schneider, the strange letters eventually stopped coming to her house. But Schneider still worries her information and security may have been compromised. For her, strengthening our government's fraud detection against cyber criminals cannot wait.
There needs to be a way of tracking who applies for these benefits because clearly there's something wrong.
For Investigate TV, I'm Carice Jackman.
All right, well, the Memphis Office of Youth Services is putting on a career and technical expo. It is coming up March 24th. And joining us now to talk more about it is Ike Griffith, Special Assistant to Mayor Jim Strickland and Director of the City Office of Youth Services and Community Affairs. Good morning. Glad to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it. So this Career and Technical Expo, it's coming up towards the end of the month. What can people expect?
Well, our young people can expect over hundreds of vendors that's going to be giving them the opportunity to be hired for a regular job. What we're trying to do is get in front of the classes of 2023 and have something in place for these young people to look forward to once they walk across the stage and get their high school diploma. Many of our young people are not going to college, and we want to make sure that we provide an opportunity for them to be productive individuals in our society. So I do want to give a shout out to Channel 5, Mr. Jonathan Mitchell, for helping me to get the word out about this great event.
Oh, good stuff. Love Jonathan. I'm glad that he's helping to get the word out with that with you, and I'm glad you're on the digital desk today. You know, you were talking about all the vendors that are going to be there helping to give these opportunities to these young people. How important is it to be able to have a place where they can come? Everything's kind of a one-stop shop, and it's giving them opportunities. How important is that?
It is very important. As I mentioned earlier, many of our young people are not going to college, and to have vendors like TVA, who's one of my sponsors, cosmetology schools, electricians, plumbers, NASA, Ford Oval, Blue Oval, just I can go on and on and on, but it's so important to have a event of this caliber where people will be hiring on the spot. And we ask our young people to come looking the part along with your resume. That is so very important. That's the first step. Your first impression is a lasting one. So we really want to provide an opportunity for those youth so they can become productive individuals in our society. Not only high school students in Memphis, but we have invited high school students from Mississippi and Arkansas. Crime is just not around in our area. It's around us too. So we want to provide those same opportunities for those young people. So we are opening up our doors at 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock for our high school seniors. From 1 to 5, we will have our college students, opportunity youth, and adults. And our opportunity youth are those individuals that are school age, but not in school with no skills set. So we really want to make sure that we embrace all our young people in the city of Memphis and the surrounding area.
And those are some big name companies that you mentioned too. So these are good jobs, good opportunities, and they're out there for our young people. And so let's just talk about, I know you said there's going to be hundreds of vendors. What else can people expect, and what kind of other services are going to be out there for people?
Well, we have our Second Chance program that will be in effect. Also, we are providing opportunities for interviews for those companies that can embrace those children and the young adults and our college students. And we will have those vendors that will hire just with a high school education, and we will have vendors that will be hiring with college degrees. So it's so very important that we embrace all those vendors and thanking them, number one, for coming on board with us, like TVA and CTE program of Shelby County Schools, really just making this a big event. So we really are very excited about this event at the Renaissance Center, as I mentioned, just different careers that our young people can go into, or just have a major concern about looking into a particular career. We will have TCAT there will be giving away a scholarship to go to their facility. So it's just a variety of, opportunities for our young people. Training program, interviews, interactive career displays, Second Chance program, hiring on the spot. We're just really excited about this, and we really want our young people to take advantage of this. We are losing too many of our young people. And as you may know or may not know, the youth in this city is a top priority of Mayor Jim Strickland. So he has allowed me to just venture out to do whatever I possibly can to help our young people become successful individuals in our society.
And this definitely is a big step. This is big and helpful for our youth. And I'm curious, have y'all put an expo like this on in the past? Is this y'all's first time to do this? And if so, how many people are you expecting to be out here?
Well, hopefully thousands. This is our first time putting this on. Matter of fact, I was not budgeted in my budget to put this on, but I've been having great support of letting people know what we are trying to do to embrace our young people. Home structure is not like it used to be, and we need to be more aggressive in helping our young people become productive individuals in society. Each and every day, we constantly meet. We meet. As we are meeting, our youth are here committing crime and other negatives in our society. So we need to meet in motion. We need to put in programs that's going to be beneficial, and also we need to have effective consequences for our young people. We are, as adults, to be quite honest, we are losing this battle with our children. So having a program of this caliber is so very important, and we ask parents to make our children do. Some things parents need to make their children do. They shouldn't have no choice. And this is one of the events that we hope parents will support us on, and so we can support their children.
Absolutely. And so I know you were saying that this is a big, investing in our youth and really focusing on our youth is a big thing for you, Mayor Strickland. Is that kind of how this expo kind of came about? Is this just kind of one of those things?
Well, I tell you, it came about just looking at data with the number of young people that may not be going to college, may not be attending college. So we got to find some positive things for our young people to do. And careers and technology is so valuable. It's so valuable because although we may have AI in our society now, but I've yet to see a machine fix hair. I've yet to see a machine come to your house and fix your plumbing. So there's a lot of careers that young people can go into and be successful in that process. And, you know, just making our children do and take it a part of something that's positive is very, very important. So we need to embrace our young people. We need to show them the right things to do, put them on the right track, number one, and hopefully they'll be successful. Hopefully it'll also deter crime because we have so many of our young people that we are losing each and every day. So we're all excited about putting on this Career Expo. We have invited, as I mentioned earlier, the school system in Memphis and the surrounding areas, college students, adults. So just take advantage of this opportunity and let's have a great summer.
Well, and I think this is awesome too because it helps these young people to even know what kind of what they are capable of, what they could do, what is out there for them that they can, you know, grab and hold on to. So this is great. Real quick, can you kind of run over all those details again one last time and then where people can go to get some more information?
Okay. Well, first of all, you can call our office at 901-636-6264. And this is Mayor Jim Strickland, Memphis Office of Youth Services Career and Technical Expo that will be held March 24th at the Renaissance Convention Center. And we ask our young people to come looking the part, bring your resumes, because we will have hundreds of vendors, interviews, second chance opportunities, hiring on the spot. And we ask our young people that are in high school from 9 to 1 will be designated for you as high school seniors. From 1 to 5 will be our college students, opportunity youth, and adults. And opportunity youth are those individuals that are school age, but not in school. Business attire and bring your resume. So we're looking forward to seeing you, and I hope each and every one of you that come get hired on the spot.
All right. Well, Ike, I've enjoyed having you on. Thank you for taking some time to get out this information to our viewers, and good luck with the expo. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Thank you so very much.
All right, it is Tuesday morning, and when we have a Tuesday, you know, not only is the club going up on a Tuesday, but so is Talisa Franklin. She's with us at WAVN The Trend. Talisa, good morning. How's it going?
Amazing. It's a great morning, and even greater because I'm talking to you.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, I appreciate it. Feel the same way. Tell me some of the events that you got going on. I see we have a couple of them.
We do. Listen, this Friday night, I am inviting people to the Kickback, baby. Well, the Kickback is an initiative. The Lord really showed it to me last week, and I called on a couple men that's in our community and said, listen, I need you to invest some time in some other young boys so they can be what we know that they are called to be. And so this Friday night, for boys and men only. And I just want to invite people out, right? So if you are a man and you know you have some valuable resources, valuable time, some valuable words that you can share and drop some deposits in some young boys, I want to see your face in the place. If you are a single mom or grandma or auntie or uncle, and you have a young boy in your family and you just really want somebody to talk to them and hopefully steer them on that right direction, listen, I need you to bring them, drop them off. We have a space for you to wait because this space will be for men and boys. And so the women, y'all come, we got a space for y'all. Y'all gonna hang out and just talk to me. We just gonna have girl time, right? But we really want to take an opportunity for these boys and these men to have real life conversations, right? And then they're going to have food, and they're going to have fun, and they're going to have fellowship, because not only that they're going to have fun, but they're going to have those real life conversations with brothers that have survived so many different things, that maybe came from challenges communities, maybe came from a challenge home, maybe didn't see no hope in the beginning. Now they want to inspire you for hope. So these are men inspiring boys. It's happening this Friday night at my church in Willing Souls Church in Douglas area. Listen, in 38108 community, I need you. If you know that you are a man and you said, Talisa, I love this, I got to be a part. Listen, we know the problem. We see the problem, what's happening with our young men. But the answer is, are you doing anything? Are you investing any of your time to change the life of one young man? And so what ultimately happen is, you won't be in the church setting. We'll be sitting at tables, and we'll have some chess, and we'll have some checkers, and some board games, and some food. And that's going to give you real men an opportunity to talk to that next young man and see how you can impart some positive things in him. Because what we don't want to see, and to continue to see, is our young men going down the wrong road. And you men that have survived from going down the wrong road, or you know you have something valuable, or you got a son that's going in the right direction, you may want to bring you and your son so other young men can see your son, or what it looks like to have a positive reaction. Andrew, it is so critical that we do what we need to do for our children.
Yeah, no question about it, Talisa. I 100% agree. I've been a part of these events in the past, and they are so important. I mean, you know, boys need a father figure of some sort. And so here's an opportunity for free, as you mentioned, to really find a father figure, a mentor out there that can kind of guide them. And this world is so complicated, and to have someone that they can rely upon to guide them is so good.
Yeah, and so that's why I encourage everybody, listen, come out to the kickback on this Friday night. Call me. Y'all got my number. Call me. The number is on the flyer. If there's anything value that you say, Talisa, we need to add, just call me. It's open for suggestions. Andrew, I just had an idea, and I wanted to see people come together to help our young boys. You know, my son, and I have a 16-year-old son, and I'm so grateful for the mentors that's in his life, and the men that's in his life, and his father that is in his life. But there's so many of our brothers and young men don't have that, right? And so what can we do as a village? The village got to make sure we keep them going. So listen, this Friday, y'all, it's the kickback. It's the kickback. Y'all need to see y'all in the place on Friday at my church in the Douglas community. And then, Andrew, you know what time it is. It's getting close to Juneteenth, baby. And tickets go on sale on tomorrow. Oh, I'm so excited. At the Halloran Center, Juneteenth the musical. You want to see a stage play, a musical stage play, performances by Young Actors Guild under the direction of the amazing artistic director, Christy Chandler. Let me tell you, Juneteenth the musical, family, you better get your tickets. Tickets goes on sale tomorrow at Ticketmaster. Listen, Juneteenth the musical is at the Halloran Center, the 10th of June. It's a Saturday for 2 shows, a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m. Listen, our young people, all people gonna be on that stage showing the reenactment of why we all should celebrate Juneteenth. So tickets go on sale tomorrow. I'm telling y'all, it will sell out, both shows. So go ahead and grab your tickets tomorrow when they go on sale on the Ticketmaster app. So it's going to be a great year. Juneteenth is doing great things. For all the things Juneteenth, y'all know what to do, right? Go to our website, memphisjuneteenth.com. I am the proud president of the Memphis Juneteenth Festival, and we're doing so many things this month for June. Why? Because we're celebrating 30 years right here in the city of Memphis, and we are going to have an amazing time of letting people know why you should commemorate and celebrate Juneteenth.
These are some great events, Talisa. Each and every time we talk, you tell me about these great events, and I know that you're all about Juneteenth, and it's such a great celebration. And what I like to remind people is that we were doing Juneteenth years, decades before everybody else were. I mean, it's kind of the hot, trendy thing to talk about right now, and have events marking the occasion. We were doing this 20 plus years ago.
You know, Andrew, I tell people, I was telling the mayor the other day, I said, you know, Mayor, we've been doing Juneteenth in Memphis with a spirit of excellence. Before it was a hashtag, before it was a national holiday, before it was cool, and he just started, I said, listen, that's just my saying now. We were doing Juneteenth before it was cool and a hashtag, because Memphis is that city that is all about change and pulling people together, and that's what Memphis is all about. Listen, Memphis Juneteenth turned 30 years, and let me tell you, there are so many great celebrations that is happening here in the city of Memphis. Listen, I lead a lot of them, and I know I do, and I'm grateful that I do, but there's so many other people that is leading Juneteenth. And listen, if you know that you are one of those people, if you have not connected with me, make sure, because I want to make sure you have a toolkit so the whole city of Memphis can celebrate Juneteenth inclusive and with equity for all.
Absolutely, absolutely, Talisa. What you got going on today on the show?
Oh, we're talking to Charles Miller. He's having a big show at the Halloran Center on next Friday. And what I love about his show, it's an absolutely free show that he's doing. He has so many musical people because he's a musical man, right? And so Charles Miller and friends, we're going to dig deep, talk about the artists, talk about the experience that's going to happen at the Halloran Center on next Friday for the Charles Miller and Friends big event. I'm excited to talk with him and dive deep all in his Kool-Aid.
All right, Talisa, we really appreciate you, your positivity, everything that you do for Memphis and the Mid-South. Thanks so much, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you. Bless you.
Hey, good morning. A weather system bringing some rain into the Mid-South. We'll get 2 rounds, one moving through early this morning, and next one just now making its way through Oklahoma City. So that one will be mostly moving north of us, but will still be some downpours. So let's talk timing. Again, this morning we have rain. You might dry out for a little bit, but then around noon, more showers move in here on First Alert Futurecast, and you'll have that chance for rain continuing on and off through at least 5 o'clock if you're in West Tennessee or Eastern Arkansas. Notice 5 here. We start to see some of that rain clearing, but I bet we'll still have a few isolated downpours, especially up towards Dyersburg and Ripley and going into Blytheville through around midnight and 1 a.m. You may even see a few light spotty showers in some spots tomorrow morning, but then the rest of the day, Wednesday, looks dry. You may even get a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. 20% chance of rain on Thursday, and then a 60% chance of rain on Friday before we finally clear everything out for the weekend. So let's talk about that Friday rain chance. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Dry as you're kicking off your day, but then those showers start to move in after lunchtime. By 3 o'clock is what you're looking at here. Widespread rain in Eastern Arkansas, West Tennessee, showers starting to arrive in DeSoto County, and then rain is on and off all the way through 7 o'clock at night. May even have a few thunderstorms as this rolls through, especially between 3 and 7. By 11 o'clock, rain continues in West Tennessee and North Mississippi, but it'll be mostly coming to an end as we get closer to midnight. So on Friday, as I mentioned, there is a chance for some thunderstorms. Right now, about a 2 out of 5 for that severe weather risk. So on the lower end, this does include Memphis and the rest of North Mississippi and even some spots in Eastern Arkansas. Main threat would be damaging wind gusts. So certainly something we're monitoring, but looking over everything this morning, greatest threat really looks like it's going to be south of us into North Mississippi, something that we'll watch. There's also some heavy rain expected on Friday, about 2 inches in Memphis. Could be up to 3 inches in Wynne and Blytheville. This is definitely on the higher side for those rainfall totals, but I always like to prepare for more and then hopefully we get less, right? Flash flooding doesn't look like a major issue, but something that I'll be watching as the system moves through on Friday for sure in the afternoon and into the evening. Today we're at 51 degrees, but a warm front is the reason for the rain tonight and tomorrow. So we'll end up with temperatures rising overnight. It'll be around 52 initially, but by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, probably around 60. The high tomorrow, 70 degrees, 75 on Thursday, and then 71 on Friday. And that cold front on Friday, really not going to do much to temperatures. We'll drop down to around 52 on Friday night, so we get a little cooler for those low temperatures compared to the night before, but high temperatures still at around 70 degrees on Saturday and Sunday.
Amanda Hansen back here at the Action News 5 digital desk. And amid the uncertainty in the economy, inflation, the talk about a recession, it's no surprise that people are worried about their financial wellness and what they can do to make sure that they are prepared for whatever comes our way. And so joining us now to talk about some advice and to share how people can build emergency savings and improve financial wellness is Scott Thoma, financial expert with Edward Jones. Scott, good morning. How you doing? We're glad to have you on here. So I know that there was a recent survey that was put together that was talking about how Americans are really viewing their financial wellness. Can you talk about that survey and some of the things that came out of it?
Yeah, from a big picture perspective, we found that most individuals, in fact, over 90% view financial wellness as incredibly important. So I think that's a positive. But what we also saw is less than half individuals right now actually felt confident in their financial strategy. I'd say the good takeaway to that is that, especially given the environment that we're going through right now, they are looking for ways to prioritize things to get back on track.
You know, and with the cost of everything at the grocery store going up, I mean, you leave with a little bitty bag of groceries and it's $100. And I think so many people are wanting to try to improve their financial wellness. I know tax season's come up. A lot of people are going to get refunds. What kind of advice would you give people with these uncertain economic times, maybe ways that they can try to put themselves in a better position?
We're going to continue to hold on to the cloud cover throughout most of the day, maybe a couple peaks of sunshine, and there will be some drizzle that continues throughout this morning. But otherwise, it's going to be breezy. Temperatures will stay into the 40s throughout the afternoon. Tonight and the next several nights will be particularly cold. Freeze warnings will be in effect. But once we get the drizzle out of the area for today, we're actually looking at a dry stretch of weather. Spring will officially begin on Monday, mostly sunny and unseasonably cool. Highs that day near 50.
Prioritize those things and actually build a strategy to help not only get them started today, but also help keep them on track.
And you were talking about the importance of having that financial advisor and how they really can help them kind of have that knowledge, know which direction to go, what they need to do. You know, one thing I'm curious, I've heard people tell me in the past too, when it comes to having that emergency savings, that you really want to try to keep about $10,000 in, you know, aside to be able to have in case you lose your job. Is that what's a typical amount that you would say people need to be able to save in order to kind of have that cushion if they need it?
Well, I think it really depends on their own specific financial situation. We recommend individuals have between 3 to 6 months of their living expenses in an emergency fund. So it's really tailored based upon your own personal situation. That being said, how much you have within that range is going to depend on a lot of different things. How stable is your income? Do you have dependents that you're supporting? So it's those types of things that a financial advisor can help work with you to not only set this is the right amount for you to have, but then also then build that strategy to be able to build it over time.
You know, and a lot of people think to themselves, this is just overwhelming. Like, I don't know how, I'm going paycheck to paycheck. You know, I'm one paycheck away from really being in trouble. And they think to themselves, it's just not realistic for me to be able to build an emergency savings. Is there some tips and maybe some small things that they can be doing to try to start working towards that? What advice do you have?
Absolutely. And I think it's first important to validate that because, yes, the situations right now people may be going through may be a little bit difficult. So what are some ways that we can get started? First thing, make it automatic. Many individuals do retirement savings automatically from their paycheck every single month. Do the exact same things for your emergency savings fund, and that can be a way to start building your fund over time. Secondly, you mentioned tax season. You may be getting a tax refund right now. Use that tax refund to really fortify that emergency fund and build that foundation. And third, look at your spending. Take a step back and see where you're spending money. Maybe there's subscriptions that you have right now that you're not really using. All of those items can be ways to really start building progress and building that base for your emergency fund.
Some good advice there for sure, because I think a lot of times people just think, I can't do it. But like you said, even kind of combing through your bills and looking at maybe those subscriptions that you're not using every day, and just kind of really taking a hard look at where your money's going. Where could people go if they want to get some more information and learn more about some of the things that we talked about?
We recommend starting at our website. It's edwardjones.com/financial wellness. Not only can you find information about all the things that I discussed, but you can also find a financial advisor in your area that can help get you started.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your time and helping to get this information out to our viewers. You have a good rest of the morning, all right?
Absolutely. You do the same. Thank you.
Police officers in Parkin, Arkansas, that's in Cross County, getting ready to resign after a request for a raise was denied. Parkin Police Chief Jeremy McNeil, who was hired 3 months ago, is among those planning to step down. The mayor, Diane Patterson, says she doesn't know how she'll find anyone willing to take on the post. So the police chief in Parkin, it doesn't come with medical or retirement benefits. Car crashes, I should say, leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 13. That's according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. That's why the agency says it is so important to make sure that your little one is in the right car seat. We have consumer investigator Carice Jackman breaking down what you need to know before you buy that car seat. Take a look.
If there's one thing Fritzy Schreffler is passionate about,
if you look at these buttons, like you see buttons here, that's where you're going to find these lower anchors.
It's safety.
Put it in, you can pull this out, and then you pull this tight without touching that.
Schreffler is spokesperson for her state's Department of Transportation, as well as a car seat technician.
So what we're trying to do is everything we can pre-crash to make sure your child's as safe as possible.
To do that, she spends several hours a day, not just installing car seats for parents, but also educating them.
We don't want to just put it in and have them go, great, I'm never taking it out and I'm leaving. We want them to feel comfortable that they understood, so we try and get them involved.
Schreffler says before the car seat ends up in the vehicle, parents should make sure they're buying it from a reputable source and think twice if the seller is a stranger online.
Buying it on Facebook, you don't know the history, and somebody who's trying to sell it is not necessarily going to tell you the truth because they want to make some money off of selling the seat.
Even worse, the car seat could be counterfeit.
It has been really surprising to us that counterfeit car seats really have gained in popularity. And really, it's when you're buying it typically online. You need to look and see who's selling it. Is it a third party that's selling it that you can't get in touch with to ask questions? Do they have all the proper labels? I mean, they're going to make it look as close to a regular car seat as possible.
To make it easier for parents, NHTSA has this used car seat safety checklist on their website, highlighting what you should look out for when buying a car seat.
First of all, ensure that the seat has never been involved in a crash. The seat has labels stating the date of manufacture and the model number, because you would need that information to find out if there's a recall on the seat or find out if the seat is too old to use.
Laura Dunn with NHTSA also says look for any wear and tear on the buckles, straps, and belts. And if you're worried about installing a car seat properly, NHTSA has an inspection station locator on its website. Just put in your zip code to find the one closest to you. A useful tool and tips that'll keep your little one safe while you're behind the wheel. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Carice Jackman.
Grizzlies a boost. Ja Morant.
Let's talk about the Grizzlies. Get everybody in a good mood here. They have won the last 6 out of 7 games, including last night's game against Dallas here, all without Ja Morant. They won 112-108 at FedEx Forum. This was a close game here. They had to come back from 16 down in order to win this game. Jaren Jackson Jr. was incredible. He had 28 points there. There's a nice 3 from Santi Aldama. Dylan Brooks, he was someone that got a tech during this game just for celebrating. He wasn't, making any kind of derogatory comments or getting into a fight. He just was celebrating a dunk, and he got a technical, which means, according to NBA rules, that is his 18th, and when a player receives their 16th, they're fined $5,000 for every additional one and suspended for every second one. So he will be suspended from tomorrow night's game against the Houston Rockets. But again, the Grizzlies doing well. Ja Morant was on the sidelines. No word if he is going to play Wednesday night. But so great to see the Grizzlies back on their winning ways at FedEx Forum. Okay, back in Shelby County, March for Meals in full swing. It's a national campaign addressing food insecurity for the senior population. Organizers with MIFA, no stranger to this initiative. They said they're grateful to have some extra hands volunteering for the cause.
We're so elated that we just have had from our suburban mayors to our city mayors to our local libraries to the 901 Fund, Memphis football players. We just had a plethora of community champions coming to show the seniors in their homes and congregate sites how they are a vital part of our community.
And according to a senior hunger survey, Memphis has the 3rd highest senior insecurity rate of any large metro area in the country. For information on how to become a volunteer, receive meals from MIFA, visit our website, actionnews5.com. Let's talk about a 5-star story, and it is about something that's in the heart of Cooper Young, an independent bookstore, one of the oldest in the country, Burke's Bookstore, approaching 150 years in the business. Kim Clark has more.
Burke's Bookstore on Cooper Street has an inventory of books as eclectic as the Midtown neighborhood where it now sits.
What I like to call Burke's is a browser's paradise.
A paradise Corey and his wife Cheryl Messler have been in love with for dozens of years.
It's really important to me to have a store where people can come into, feel welcome, and be surprised by something that they didn't know they wanted.
On the shelves, you'll find about 14,000 new and used books, rare books, first editions, and signed copies. The best of the old, the latest of the new, and hard-to-find collectibles.
And since Burke's is part of the history, and it's important to us to keep a big Memphis history section. That's one of our draws.
Also, more typewriters than they can possibly display.
And people became fascinated with them. I didn't know there was that much interest in typewriters. Of course, it fits. This is how books are written. And the more people became fascinated with it, and they would bring us typewriters.
Messler, the author of several novels of his own, has also brought some of the world's most famous authors into the shop.
John Grisham's a dear friend, still a dear friend of the store. Literally over 100 authors, I'm sure, have been through here.
And it's not just famous authors who've made Burke's a destination. Take screenwriter Joel Cohen and his wife and actress Frances McDormand. Messler called the couple's visit one of the best days of his 40-year book-selling career.
They said they came to Memphis, this is what they told us, we came to Memphis for barbecue, antique stores, and Burke's. Now, they may have just been flattering us, but it sure felt good. They said they'd been in the store 20-some years ago, and we remembered it.
The story of Burke's Bookstore started more than a century ago.
Started 1865 on Main Street in the Burke's family, famous for selling textbooks to all the Catholic schools in town.
Eventually, the Burke family moved the business to the 600 block of Poplar Avenue.
In the 60s, urban renewal came through. They wanted to raise a lot of those buildings, so Burke's had to find a new home. We're still in the Burke's family at that point in the third generation. It went from father to son to son.
The bookstore was bought by Diana Crump in 1978, then Harriet Beeson, shown here in this picture, who moved the business to its third location in 1988 at 1719 Poplar Avenue. Corey began working for Beeson that year as well.
And of course, loved it. I've been in the book business since I was 18.
That's also when Burke's began selling used books.
In 2000, we were able to buy the store because Harriet was ready to retire.
In 2007, the Messlers moved the business to its fourth and hopefully final location in Cooper Young, becoming their own family business.
Cheryl and I are fixing to have our 31st wedding anniversary. We met in the store, got married at the playhouse next door, had the reception in the store. So we are wed to the store, literally. And then our daughter Chloe came on board 5 years ago.
When asked why Burke's has stayed in business so long, Messler's simple answer is civic pride.
Memphians love Memphis. I mean, true Memphians really love the city. So we're part of the history, and we honor the history. We're proud to be in Memphis. We're proud to be Memphians, and I guess people respond to that.
In Cooper Young,
thank you to Memphis for supporting us for almost 150 years. Thank you for thinking we're worth supporting and worth keeping around.
Kim Clark, Action News 5.
Amanda Hansen back here at the Action News 5 digital desk. And you know, we've been talking about mental health here this morning. And so have you heard about the Living Well Network? It is a great service that is offered by Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare. And joining us now to talk more about it is Allison White, the supervisor for the Living Well Network. Glad to have you back here on the digital desk. How you doing?
Great. Thanks, Amanda.
So for people that maybe aren't familiar with the Living Well Network, can you talk about the work y'all do?
Sure. So we are a free community service, and we offer assessment and referral to behavioral health services. So anyone in the community can call us, and we will assess their need, and we'll match them with the right provider. So Amanda, think of us as a concierge service almost. So we're going to help connect you to the right person. And we also offer free mental health education to anyone in the community, churches, schools, civic groups, professional organizations. So we do a lot here.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I know y'all stay busy. Can you tell us about this upcoming mental health breakfast that y'all have down the line?
Sure. So our 9th annual mental health breakfast is Tuesday, May the 2nd. It's over at the Hilton in East Memphis. And we are really excited to have our keynote speaker this year, Joe Pantalone. He is an Emmy Award-winning actor. You might remember him from The Sopranos, which was a long-running, great TV show. He's also been in The Matrix and some other TV and movie. His list goes on. And he is going to be talking about his battle with chronic depression. And we're also having a breakout session after our keynote speaker. And we have a local therapist who is going to be talking about all things men's mental health.
And, I do want to talk, with men, I think it's so important to be able to focus on their mental health. I think sometimes, a lot of times, men avoid that. They don't want to seem like they're having a hard time or they're struggling. Can we talk about some of the misconceptions when it comes to men and mental health?
So I think one of the biggest myths that especially men have about their own mental health is that, well, men don't get sad. We don't cry. Well, we know that that's not true. We know men suffer from depression and mental health issues just as much as women do. They are less likely to seek treatment. And I think the reason is because of these, social norms that, and these myths that we have that men are supposed to be the strong ones, right? But if you look at statistics for suicide, for example, men make up 78% of all suicides in this country. So we know they're struggling, and we want them to be able to change that narrative and say it's okay not to be okay. We want them to seek out treatment when they need it.
And what are some signs maybe people could look out for to know if someone's struggling?
Right. So I think a lot of times with men, you might see more irritability for a certain period of time. You might see more decrease in their hobbies or activities they used to enjoy. And I think they're less like you're more likely to see that as opposed to maybe the sadness, maybe they're not getting up and not taking care of their hygiene routines. Although you can see that. I think though, we're looking out for other things too. The change in patterns and the change in behavior and the irritability more so.
And how can people contact the Living Well Network if they're saying, hey, I think I could benefit from the resources that they offer? How can they get in touch with y'all?
So we have a website. It's www.thelivingwellnetwork.org. We have lots of information on there. We also are here Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, and you can call us at 901-762-8558.
And again, that 9th annual mental health breakfast is coming up May 2nd. It's a big deal for you guys. I know the proceeds go to benefit the work that y'all do and to continue that work of offering that free mental health resources to people in the community. So, Allison, I appreciate having you taking the time to join us today, and you have a good rest of the morning, all right?
Great. Thanks so much.
All right, it is the first day of spring here on a March 20th. We are excited to be talking about spring because that is the perfect time for so many homeowners out there to improve their house, renovations, do-it-yourself home improvement projects. We want to talk to an expert about DIY projects. So we have brought into the digital desk Chip Wade. He's a favorite TV home improvement expert. Perhaps you recognize him. He's the original Emmy Award-winning host of HGTV shows like Elbow Room, Curb Appeal, The Block, and several others. Chip, how are you? Good morning.
I'm great, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here. So why is spring one of those great times for all those do-it-yourself projects that people are just ready to get involved in?
You know, I think it's the opportunity for us to take advantage of that kind of natural energy-inducing life of all the trees coming out and that little sprig of warm weather. For me, it just boosts me full of energy, and it's like we need to harness that for productivity, doing the fun things, doing the necessary things, but doing it in a way that, you know, is not too cumbersome, that we can enjoy this process of all this new life.
I agree. So let's talk about where people should start with their spring projects, because they're like, okay, yes, I want to improve my house. Where to begin?
Well, one thing that I like to do to keep my motivation at this high level is to start with a project where I know I'm getting a great deal. Nothing kind of is a buzzkill, like feeling like you're paying too much for something. So I've actually found a site that's a little bit different than you might have experienced before. This is called Slick Deals. This is a community of millions of real people that work together to save. It's like shoppers helping other shoppers, and they do this by voting and vetting on these deals so that when you look at it, you can actually tell with confidence what deals are actually really great, which again, for me is awesome. It kind of takes that whole, you know, having to cross comparison shop off the table, saving you time. Again, these are hundreds of deals vetted every day, everything from power tools to, you know, bathroom vanities. They've got everything on there. So if you're in the market for something to buy, check out Slick Deals to give you that confidence that what you're buying is a great one.
What about suggestions for keeping our homes running smoothly? What about that?
Now, Andrew, one of the things, I can do so many things around the house, but one thing I despise is working on home systems like, you know, your HVAC system if it goes out, or, you know, your refrigerator and your other appliances. I recommend having a service in place where when the inevitable does happen, you know exactly where to go and you've got all of that already orchestrated. One great place to look is cinchhomeservices.com. What this is a home management system that's easy, that covers the repair and replacement of all of your home systems and appliances that you use every day. Basically, this is going to end up saving money, but ultimately what it's going to do is going to save you the hassle and the frustration of time of where am I looking, who can I trust to just come in and get the job done so that I can be focusing on the stuff that I actually enjoy doing, which is not working on any of these things. So again, it's a preventative measure to give you that peace of mind that ultimately we're all looking for. And again, we're talking about staying on this high of energy and motivation in the spring. Get this taken care of so it doesn't kind of undercut you. It's a great idea.
There's so many home improvement projects people are probably thinking about right now, but what about someone who wants a little something unique for the spring?
Well, I am one of those people. Every single year, I like to kind of reinvent the feel of some of the main areas in the house. But again, that can break the bank if you're not careful. So one of the most cost-effective big things you can do is refresh your space with new prints and frames and some wall decor that is cost-effective. Now, a place you can go is smallwoodhome.com. What they are, a family-owned business that they provide the quality, affordable, custom home solutions like your canvases and your framed prints. My kids, like everybody else's, grow so fast, and it seems like, oh my gosh, I just put that art up, but now I don't even recognize who that is in the picture. You know, to keep things fresh and up to date, you can upload your personalized art, create a gallery wall. All of these things are very easy, and right now they're offering 20% off your first order. So again, keeping in that same theme of saving money keeps us motivated, and this is a quick and easy refresh to your house. I'm doing it. It's definitely something that I think you would benefit from as well.
What about the other items that are on your spring to-do list, Wade? What you got?
Well, one thing that I did this year that was brand new, I've designed and installed so many pools for other people over the years, but this is the first year I actually did it for myself and my family. I was a little hesitant because I was like, oh, the last thing I need is another thing to maintain. You know, I'm not looking at the fun it could be. I'm saying, how can I make this easier? So I did all the research for you and found what I feel like is the best pool cleaning robot out there. This is from Aiper. This is called the Aiper Elite Pro. This is a very powerful, easy to use cordless pool cleaner that basically will suck up all that gross stuff on the walls and the bottom of your pool. Again, yeah, it actually climbs the walls, cleans those too. The whole idea is that it just does it for you so you can actually enjoy your pool and not having to be working on it all the time, which is great. And again, saving money is what I'm all about. They have a code right now on Aiper.com, $150 with the code Aiper150. 50. Again, really great things. When this thing gets done, it even parks itself beside the edge of the pool, which makes it really easy to just grab, charge again for the next time. Really, really good stuff. Technology is our friend when it comes to that. And I've got all this up for us, Andrew, on tipsontv.com in case you missed anything or you're like, oh, I like that, but I forgot what it was called. Check out tipsontv.com. We've got all of it there. And for any other inspiration that you might be looking for, I'm always doing projects on my social media. At Chip Wade is my handle on everything. Check it out. Hopefully you'll be inspired to save money and pick the right stuff to make sure your attention is focused on the best productivity this spring to keep us all motivated and moving forward.
You've really motivated us on a Monday morning. Gosh, I mean, we're looking at all these things. We're taking notes here. We're like, hey, this looks really good. I love it. Chip Wade bringing it with the energy this Monday morning, first day of spring. Chip, thanks very much.
Andrew, thanks for having me.
Hey, good morning. A weather system bringing some rain into the Mid-South. We'll get 2 rounds, one moving through early this morning, and next one just now making its way through Oklahoma City. So that one will be mostly moving north of us, but will still be some downpours. So let's talk timing. Again, this morning we have rain. You might dry out for a little bit, but then around noon, more showers move in here on First Alert Futurecast, and you'll have that chance for rain continuing on and off through at least 5 o'clock if you're in West Tennessee or Eastern Arkansas. Notice 5 here. We start to see some of that rain clearing, but I bet we'll still have a few isolated downpours, especially up towards Dyersburg and Ripley and going into Blytheville through around midnight and 1 a.m. You may even see a few light spotty showers in some spots tomorrow morning, but then the rest of the day Wednesday looks dry. You may even get a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. 20% chance of rain on Thursday and then a 60% chance of rain on Friday before we finally clear everything out for the weekend. So let's talk about that Friday rain chance. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Dry as you're kicking off your day, but then those showers start to move in after lunchtime. By 3 o'clock is what you're looking at here. Widespread rain in Eastern Arkansas, West Tennessee, showers starting to arrive in DeSoto County, and then rain is on and off all the way through 7 o'clock at night. May even have a few thunderstorms as this rolls through, especially between 3 and 7. By 11 o'clock, rain continues in West Tennessee and North Mississippi, but it'll be mostly coming to an end as we get closer to midnight. So on Friday, as I mentioned, there is a chance for some thunderstorms. Right now, about a 2 out of 5 for that severe weather risk. So on the lower end, this does include Memphis and the rest of North Mississippi and even some spots in Eastern Arkansas. Main threat would be damaging wind gusts. So certainly something we're monitoring, but looking over everything this morning, greatest threat really looks like it's going to be south of us into North Mississippi, something that we'll watch. There's also some heavy rain expected on Friday, about 2 inches in Memphis, could be up to 3 inches in Wynne and Blytheville. This is definitely on the higher side for those rainfall totals, but I always like to prepare for more and then hopefully we get less, right? Flash flooding doesn't look like a major issue, but something that I'll be watching as the system moves through on Friday for sure in the afternoon and into the evening. Today we're at 51 degrees, but a warm front is the reason for the rain tonight and tomorrow. So we'll end up with temperatures rising overnight. It'll be around 52 initially, but by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, probably around 60. The high tomorrow is 70 degrees, 75 on Thursday, and then 71 on Friday. And that cold front on Friday really not going to do much to temperatures. We'll drop down to around 52 on Friday night, so we get a little cooler for those low temperatures compared to the night before, but high temperatures still at around 70 degrees on Saturday and Sunday.
All right, let's talk about the is Memphis Shelby County Schools State of the District Address. It's expected to update everybody on the latest happenings within the district. We can expect to hear about the academic year, interim superintendent Tony Williams, and what is the update in terms of a permanent superintendent, and how the search is going.
Started the year with some academic gains with our state test and that TCAP. We made some double-digit gains in elementary English. We made some small gains in math, but we want to see bigger gains. And so those are some of the things that we will talk about during the State of the District Address.
Yeah, so one thing many people may be wanting an update is exactly how close the district is to finding that new superintendent. They say that's not being discussed, but they did share more than a dozen people across the country have applied for the position. So perhaps we'll get an update later this month. on that very issue. Let's talk about MLGW and city leaders. They shared more information on a multi-million-dollar project to replace current street lights to LED lights. The project's in the beginning phases. The utility invited people to come to the Memphis Fire Station 37 on Weaver Road to see the new lights and what they'll need for your safety.
With these lights, these new lights, no longer will criminals have safe harbor to operate under the cover of darkness and prey on our citizens in dimly lit parts of the city.
Yeah, so MLGW says that the LED lights will reduce the cost of maintaining nearly 77,000 streetlights citywide. The $42 million project expected to be completed by the end of the year. All right, some advocates are requesting 5 Georgia children be returned to their parents. They've been in DCS custody since a traffic stop in Middle Tennessee last month. Authorities say they found marijuana and a gun inside the family's car. Courtney Allen from our sister station WSMV in Nashville was out yesterday's juvenile hearing and has this update.
I can't imagine my life without my babies. That's Courtney Teasley, representing Bianca Claiborne and Deontay Williams, the Georgia couple whose children were taken from them after a traffic stop in Manchester on February 17th. A black man and his family from Georgia, where medical marijuana is legal, was heading to a funeral in Chicago where recreational marijuana is legal. The Coffee County arrest warrant says the couple got pulled over with their kids in the car for having a dark tint and driving in the left lane without passing. The warrant says Williams was arrested after troopers found marijuana and a weapon in the car. The Department of Children's Services took the children into custody after the arrest.
THP told us Friday, quote, "We did not arrest the mother in this particular case with the intent of leaving the children with her, so that's where we left it. The mother had custody of the children. So why did DCS show up?"
And again, that's case specific. I can't discuss that with you.
DCS spoke outside court Monday, saying their main focus is the safety and well-being of children.
You know, we talk about transparency a lot, whether that be policy, procedure, protocol, and in this case, we feel like those case managers did just that.
After Monday's decision, the family attorney would not comment on why the children would not be released, only saying this.
The mother will have to submit to a hair follicle test.
A family friend tells WSMV4 that the children were placed initially into foster care until she took them into her Antioch home earlier this month, where she says they will now return.
This has got to end.
Okay, I want to show you this. This is a Memphis man behind bars in Kentucky accused of sex trafficking. Federal authorities say this man, 36-year-old Portia Govan, used threats and force to compel the victim into commercial sex in August of last year. Authorities say Govan conspired with Brittany Howard, that you see there, to force the woman into sex trafficking. Govan faces up to life in prison if convicted of sex trafficking. All right, Desmond Mills decertification. We're hearing more about that, and that is it's the attorney for one of the Memphis police officers, former officers that's charged in the death, charged with murder in the death of Tyree Nichols, says his client will not fight decertification. So we're talking about former MPD officer Desmond Mills, already surrendered his certification, meaning he cannot work in Tennessee law enforcement ever again. He's one of 6 former Memphis police officers terminated back in January. He, alongside Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin, and Justin Smith, are scheduled for decertification hearings in Nashville later this week on Thursday. His attorney says neither he nor his client will attend that hearing. Okay, Andrew Douglas back here in the Action News 5 digital desk on the first day of spring. And, you know, we're thinking about working out. And, of course, you know, that is one of the big New Year's resolutions. But it's March now. The sun's out. We're supposed to be working out all the time, getting into shape. Well, you know, you got to worry about your body and your health and your fitness and making sure that you don't hurt anything or strain anything or break anything or tear anything. March is also National Athletic Training Month, and joining us right now is Emily Collier. She is a certified athletic trainer with Campbell Clinic. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well, thank you. So tell us why it's so important for many of us, both young, the youth out there, and adults alike, to work with an athletic trainer when we're, you know, these weekend warrior types that love to just go out in the outdoors and have some fun.
So a good comparison I like to use to describe my profession is that athletic trainers are kind of like the Swiss Army knife or the utility player on a baseball team. We have a lot of knowledge with a lot of various topics involving sports medicine. So, you know, we have knowledge on injury prevention, how to properly treat and rehabilitate injuries. We have knowledge on modalities and extra things that you can do to help heal your injuries faster. We have knowledge in emergent and immediate care.
Yeah.
So we can just kind of do a lot of different things that can get you from point A to point B a lot faster when it comes to injuries.
I understand that, and I know that Campbell Clinic works a lot with various sports teams, not only, you know, the Grizzlies or the Tigers, but also some local high school athletes as well. What are some of the most common injuries that you see, and perhaps what are some of the best ways to prevent that?
Within the city? And the guidelines.
Yeah, so I work at a high school full time and provide sports medicine coverage to a school that has 17 varsity sports. So we see a lot of injuries, but some of the most common ones that we deal with are sprains and strains of every muscle or tendon or ligament you could probably see. And then
why would they be discussing it?
on the more severe side, we see ACL tears, a lot of concussions, broken bones. Unfortunately, there's not really a perfect formula to preventing injuries, but a good rule of thumb is just making sure that you warm up properly.
Should I
for
put
the
it
sport
in
that you're about
in the
to
media
perform.
or yours?
So I wouldn't recommend
we'll run it
a
later in the
football
week.
player do a volleyball player's warm up or a basketball player do a golf warm up. You just want to make sure that you're warming up those muscles that you're about to use. Secondly, I would advise that you have to listen to your body. So you know that if something's not feeling right, then you need to either take a step back and take a break, or if it's serious enough, you need to, you know, follow up with your athletic trainer or maybe go and see
I feel like
a
I'm
physician
obligated to
about
ask
it,
that.
because there's things that we can do to help progress faster.
I always hear that it's so important to stretch before any kind of physical activity. What about ending with stretch? Which one's more important?
So usually when you're getting into exercise, you want to do what's called a dynamic warm-up, which is stretching with movement, because if you're just holding that static stretch or, you know, just standing and touching your toes, that type of a stretch, it's not as effective. It doesn't get your blood flowing quite as well as a dynamic warm-up does. So you really want a little bit of both. You want to do a dynamic warm-up at the beginning of the workout, and then at the end it's okay to do some of that static stretching just to kind of help cool your muscles down, prepare your body for that rest phase.
What advice would you give parents and perhaps some student athletes out there who may be watching this? What advice would you give them to just kind of avoid injuries out there? You know, a lot of times you'll hear coaches and maybe some athletes, some former athletes will say, okay, well, if your son or daughter is involved in a sport, you want to make sure that they're involved in multiple sports so they work different muscles during different times of the year and they're balanced. Does that make any sense? Give me your best advice.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up, because there's so much research out there now speaking against sports specialization. So only playing one sport for more than 8 months at a time is not great for your body. You can get a lot of overuse injuries from that. So more and more we're recommending, go ahead and play 2 or 3 sports a year, just so that you're changing it up and you're using different muscles and you're not just being repetitive for your entire athletic career. that can come with a lot of benefits. And also I think it's a good mental benefit too, because you're not in the same setting every single day. You have something different to look forward to, maybe when the springtime comes around versus the sport that you're playing in the fall. Sports specialization is okay when you're older, but when you're a youth athlete, go out and try whatever interests you, and that's okay.
So, Emily, we know that it's so important to have certain people on the sidelines during games, whether it's collegiate games, professional games, high school games. Can you talk briefly with us about the importance of having an athletic trainer on the sidelines during these kinds of competitions?
So especially with it being March, I'm sure that you're seeing a lot of athletic trainers on TV right now with March Madness, and that's just the greatest way to kick off National Athletic Training Month, is getting to see and highlight all of the athletic trainers that work in all sorts of settings. It's important that we're on the sidelines and sitting on the bench with the team, because we have training for emergent and immediate care in the case of, a sudden cardiac arrest or any other emergency that may pop up. But we're also there for the little things, like if your star player rolls his ankle and needs to get it evaluated to see whether or not he can go back in or not. That's one of the main reasons why it's great to have us there for that immediate access, because we can make that decision whether or not they are able to continue on with the game, or if you need to change your game plan and maybe put in the next guy. We can deal with, anything from a rolled ankle to a cut, a broken finger. We're trained to kind of deal with everything, and in your career you see pretty much anything and everything you could ever expect.
I bet, and that's why there are so many certifications that you guys have. After your name, there's all kinds of different certifications. Can you briefly explain some of those certifications? And I guess you have to update it almost every year, right?
Yeah. The LAT behind my name stands for Licensed Athletic Trainer, so that just means that I'm licensed to practice in the state of Tennessee. Every state usually has different standards that you have to qualify for in order to get that license, so that's the most important credential that I own, because it allows me to practice athletic training in the state of Tennessee. And then the ATC behind my name stands for Athletic Training Certified. That just means that I have passed the Board of Certification exam to be an athletic trainer. And then all of the other stuff after that is just additional certifications that you can go out and get. So the PN behind my name stands for Precision Nutrition. So I'm a certified nutrition coach. And it's really important to go out and get extra certifications, because the world of medicine and the world of sports medicine is constantly changing. There's new discoveries, new techniques that are coming out almost every single day. So in order to keep up with and provide the best care to our patients, it's important to go out and learn those new techniques, because there's not a perfect way to treat an injury. Every body reacts differently to a form of treatment. So what works for some athlete might not work for another athlete. So just having those extra tools in your toolbox really help to make the treatment and rehabilitation process a lot easier.
All right, Emily Collier, we really appreciate your time this morning and giving us the insight into what you do and how important your job is each and every day for so many different athletes, whether it's collegiate, high school, professional, and on this National Athletic Training Month. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
March 21st is World Down Syndrome Day every year. And it's on March 21st because individuals with Down syndrome have 3 copies of the 21st chromosome. 321. When our daughter Marley was born, she's 7 now, she has Down syndrome. There wasn't a big event in Memphis that we had on World Down Syndrome Day. So my wife Rachel and I founded Walking to Memphis. And basically what it is it is a 21+ mile walk all the way across the city. I stop at 20 21 well-known locations. There's a theme there, obviously, and we get really good access. We get to take pictures, and I take a butterfly, which is the international symbol for Down syndrome, and I raise it at each location. We get really good access at all of these spots, so the community's just really responded really well to it. And the goal is to raise $21,000 for the Down Syndrome Association of Memphis and the Mid-South.
Kind of talk about the impact, not just, for your daughter, but for other parents.
Yeah, it's like I mentioned, we didn't really have a whole lot in the city, 6 or 7 years ago. So we have a big finale event this year. It's at Beck and Call inside the Hyatt Centric-Ville Hotel. And every year, what we've done is we've lit up both bridges. So one behind me and Mighty Lights, and then Bass Pro has joined in as well. And we light them all up in blue and yellow for Down syndrome. Those are the colors for Down syndrome. And I think the community's just really enjoyed having something to do on today. They can bring their families, they can come, they can have drinks and food and a silent auction. They can take pictures with the bridge and the Bass Pro in the background, and just have something to do on World Down Syndrome Day to celebrate themselves and whoever it is that they love that has Down syndrome.
Talk about the importance of raising awareness about Down syndrome.
Yeah, I think for parents like myself and my wife and others, we just want people to know that individuals with Down syndrome are just like us. They can do anything that we can do. Sometimes they may need a little extra resources and a little extra time. We all need that, right? So it's just kind of plugging them into organizations like the DSAM, so that when children with Down syndrome are born all the way into a late adulthood, they have organizations and resources like the DSAM that can help them.
And so is it just you making this run?
It is. It's just me. It's cold. We got a little bit of rain today, but nothing we can't handle, and it's going to be a fun day. It usually picks up, and we do have people that meet us at certain stops. Orpheum puts our logo on the marquee. Liberty Bowl lets us on the 50-yard line. We're about to go meet with maybe some Grizzlies at the FedEx Forum. We get up at Levitt Shell. Some of our big stops, we have people come and join us for like a big group picture. So it's a more than welcome. Yes, I do the majority of the walking, but the goal is to have everybody do this with us, whether it's walking or come to take a picture, or even just send a picture in on social media and tag us, just so everyone can get involved in some way.
All right. Is there anything else you want the public to know?
No, just support individuals with Down syndrome, include them in all aspects of life, whether that's play, school, work, and just come out, celebrate individuals with Down syndrome today. And if you see me driving by, honk, and I'll throw up the sign, and just we appreciate everybody's support.
Josh Greer. Okay, that was Josh Greer. I wanted to tell you that he is walking 21 miles on this March 21st. To bring awareness to World Down Syndrome Day today. And he walked across the Big River Crossing over the Mississippi River between Arkansas and Tennessee, and is raising awareness as well as funds for the Down Syndrome Society here, and also just raising awareness for World Down Syndrome Day. All right, so let's switch gears right now and let's talk about seasonal allergies. Do you get it in the fall and spring? I certainly do. I think actually the spring is worse for me. Well, just like humans, dogs can suffer from seasonal allergies as well. They have all kinds of signs that can kind of give you a hint that they're dealing with it. Scratching, chewing, licking. It can be rough on dogs. Get it? Rough? Rough on dogs? All right, let's talk more about this before I get booed out there. I got Dr. Dana Liska. She's a veterinary dermatology specialist at Zoetis. Is that right, doctor?
You have it right, Andrew.
Good, good. Well, listen, I appreciate you joining us. Tell us what exactly what kind of seasonal allergies that dogs have, and what are their triggers?
Absolutely. You know, you really created a great introduction saying that you suffer from allergies in the fall and the spring. And I imagine that you are sneezing, sniffling, maybe itchy eyes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So think about those same things can happen in my patients seasonally. But what they do is they show their allergies most oftentimes in their skin. And what that usually looks like in the beginning is that they're itchy in their skin. left untreated, we could get to some bigger problems like secondary infections and hair loss.
I was going to say, it'd be interesting to kind of see in terms of what happens to dogs when things are left untreated. And I understand there's some skin allergies involved too when it comes to seasonal allergies. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, if we're talking specifically about seasonal allergies, I think of those as being the things in the environment that cause that itch and inflammation in the dog skin. And I think your viewers will appreciate this and it will resonate with them because it is the same thing. It's the pollens outside, it's the weeds, the trees, the grasses, the molds, house dust mite. Those are all things that go into causing that seasonal allergy.
So let's talk now about the signs that dog owners should be looking for, especially this time of year over the next 3 weeks, to see if their dog is one of those that suffer from seasonal allergies.
Absolutely. I imagine it's starting to warm up down there in the Memphis area, just like it is here in Dallas. And while we relish that warm up, it does bring the allergies out. And so what I want your viewers to think about is just recognizing that their dogs might lick or scratch or just even do a little bit of chewing, and that's natural. But when they sense that it's excessive, so it could be scratching, rubbing, rolling, biting, chewing, ear scratching, head shaking, all of those things can be a symptom of allergy. And I want your viewers to think, if my dog is having problems in its skin, I've got to get it in to see its veterinarian.
So we've kind of identified the problem here. Let's talk about solutions, the best way to relieve a dog, perhaps a dog's itch.
Absolutely. Do not delay. Get your dog in to see its veterinarian. Your dog's veterinarian is the best person to assess the skin at that time, maybe do some very simple, non-invasive tests, and then be able to sit down and talk to you about options for therapy. And that's the beauty of the modern medicine era that we live in, that there are options. One of the options that we offer at Zoetis that we are so very proud of is an FDA-approved therapy for dogs with itchy skin, and it's called Apoquel. And what I appreciate so much about it is that it starts working within 4 hours to relieve that itchy, inflamed skin, and also helps control that itch within 24 hours.
You know, we broadcast to thousands of people that tune into the Digital Desk each and every weekday morning. Is there, and I'm sure there's plenty of dog owners out there, anything else you want to say to the dog owners to perhaps remember? And another question I have, is there something like maybe a shampoo that can offer some relief?
Yeah, absolutely. So topical therapy is really important with patients with skin disease. Sometimes when patients have skin infections, though, they need a very specific type of shampoo. And so again, it kind of just brings me back to that idea of if there's a problem in the dog's skin, get that dog in to see the veterinarian so the veterinarian can make that assessment and decide what shampoo would be most appropriate. And again, also what therapies would be most appropriate for the itch and inflammation.
Okay, Dr. Dana Liska, a veterinary dermatologist specialist at Zoetis. We really appreciate the deep dive into this and really opening our eyes to seasonal allergies affecting everybody in your household, including our four-legged family members. Thanks so very much.
Absolutely. Hey, Andrew, can I share one more thing? Just that deep dive. I would love for your viewers to take that deep dive and go to itchingforhelp.com.
Perfect. You got it in there. All right, Doctor, thanks again.
Good morning. A weather system bringing some rain into the Mid-South. We'll get 2 rounds, one moving through early this morning, and next one just now making its way through Oklahoma City. So that one will be mostly moving north of us, but will still be some downpours. So let's talk timing. Again, this morning we have rain. You might dry out for a little bit, but then around noon, more showers move in here on First Alert Futurecast, and you'll have that chance for rain continuing on and off through at least 5 o'clock if you're in West Tennessee or Eastern Arkansas. Notice 5 here. We start to see some of that rain clearing, but I bet we'll still have a few isolated downpours, especially up towards Dyersburg and Ripley and going into Blytheville through around midnight, 1 a.m. You may even see a few light spotty showers in some spots tomorrow morning, but then the rest of the day Wednesday looks dry. You may even get a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. 20% chance of rain on Thursday, and then a 60% chance of rain on Friday before we finally clear everything out for the weekend. So let's talk about that Friday rain chance. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Dry as you're kicking off your day, but then those showers start to move in after lunchtime. By 3 o'clock is what you're looking at here. Widespread rain in eastern Arkansas, West Tennessee. Showers starting to arrive in DeSoto County, and then rain is on and off all the way through 7 o'clock at night. May even have a few thunderstorms as this rolls through, especially between 3 and 7. By 11 o'clock, rain continues in West Tennessee and North Mississippi, but it'll be mostly coming to an end as we get closer to midnight. So on Friday, as I mentioned, there is a chance for some thunderstorms. Right now, about a 2 out of 5 for that severe weather risk. So on the lower end, this does include Memphis and the rest of North Mississippi and even some spots in eastern Arkansas. Main threat would be damaging wind gusts. So certainly something we're monitoring, but looking over everything this morning, greatest threat really looks like it's going to be south of us into North Mississippi, something that we'll watch. There's also some heavy rain expected on Friday, about 2 inches in Memphis, could be up to 3 inches in Wynne and Blytheville. This is definitely on the higher side for those rainfall totals, but I always like to prepare for more and then hopefully we get less, right? Flash flooding doesn't look like a major issue, but something that I'll be watching as the system moves through on Friday for sure in the afternoon and into the evening. Today we're at 51 degrees, but a warm front is the reason for the rain tonight and tomorrow. So we'll end up with temperatures rising overnight. It'll be around 52 initially, but by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, probably around 60. The high tomorrow, 70 degrees, 75 on Thursday, and then 71 on Friday. And that cold front on Friday, really not going to do much to temperatures. We'll drop down to around 52 on Friday night, so we get a little cooler for those low temperatures compared to the night before. But high temperatures still at around 70 degrees on Saturday and Sunday.
Amanda Hansen back here at the Action News 5 Digital Desk. You know, we've been talking about March being Colon Cancer Awareness Month, and so we want to make sure that you are informed with all of the health information you need to make sure that you are doing what you can. And joining me now to talk more about this is Dr. Mariah Wright, colorectal surgeon with St. Francis Medical Partners. Dr. Wright, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I'm glad to have you here on the Digital Desk talking about this topic. I think it's so important to make sure that people have the information they need to make sure that they're making proper healthcare decisions. So I guess starting things off, I know screening is so important in ordering to catch things like this early. What are those screening guidelines and how have they kind of changed?
So currently the colorectal cancer screening guidelines have changed. They used to be starting at age 50 for folks who were considered normal risk. Now we've decreased that down to age 45, and that's because we were noticing that there were a lot of folks who were getting diagnosed with more advanced cancers at that initial screening. So we decided to bump that age down so that we could catch more people in time to potentially cure their disease. We estimate that about 140,000 people will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer this year, and about 56,000 people will die from the disease. It's very preventable and treatable, and if caught early, we could save another 40,000 lives.
You know, I do have a question. I was curious, a lot of times over the pandemic, a lot of people were avoiding some of these types of screenings, things like that. How important is it to catch this early? And when it comes to the symptoms, do you not really start seeing symptoms of this until it has progressed to a point, and that's why early detection is so important?
Absolutely. So there were tons of people who either weren't able to get the colonoscopies that were recommended by their primary care providers or decided to put it off because they didn't want to be in a healthcare situation, which was totally understandable at the time. The reason that ends up hurting all of us in the long run is that when we do a colonoscopy, we're able to catch polyps before they even turn into cancer and prevent you from getting cancer in the first place. By no means is colonoscopy our only screening option. We can check the stool for blood. We can check the stool for abnormal DNA that would be coming from one of those polyps. But if those blood or stool DNA tests are abnormal, the next thing that we're going to recommend is a colonoscopy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the various ways to get screened. You hear a lot now, too, about these test kits that people can order. Is that kind of another way that people are kind of keeping a check of their health when it comes to their colon health?
Absolutely. So the most common one that we will use for colon cancer screening is the Cologuard test. And with that one, they send you a kit and you have your bowel movement into a little hammock, and then you put it in a jar and you send it off in the mail. And then the lab is going to take a look at it and check for abnormal DNA and for blood. And if either of those things comes back, then they're going to tell you that your test was positive and that you need to be set up for a colonoscopy. The upside of that test is there's no bowel prep and essentially no downtime. But the downside is that you're going to have to do it probably every 1 to 3 years. With a regular colonoscopy, because we're able to get out any polyps before they turn into anything, if you don't have polyps or if you're a regular average risk person, then potentially you only have to get screened every 10 years.
But of course, those kits do not replace getting a colonoscopy, correct?
No. So all it does is tell us whether you're at increased risk for having a polyp, but it does not catch absolutely every little thing. There are certainly smaller polyps that would not be caught with those tests. So colon cancer screening, the gold standard is going to be a colonoscopy so that we can find polyps before they turn into cancer and remove them.
And, you mentioned risk. Are there people that are at higher risk than others? And then how much does family history play when it comes to something like this?
Sure. So folks who have a family history of colon cancer, either multiple family members or any family members diagnosed before the age of 50 are considered at an increased risk. And we're going to want to start screening them 10 years before their youngest family member diagnosis. So if you had a family member diagnosed with colon cancer at age 45, we're going to want to start screening you at age 35. Other things that contribute to a risk for colon cancer would be something like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, where you've got chronic inflammation going on in your colon, and that's going to increase the risk for cancer as well.
And just a question, this might be beyond what you can tell me, but you were talking about people that maybe have a higher risk getting that 10 years earlier. Is that something that would be covered by insurance if you are at higher risk? That's just out of curiosity.
So for the most part, it will depend on where you are with your deductible and all that kind of stuff. But insurance should cover it as part of typical screening and a preventative measure. It would be considered preventative healthcare. But if you haven't met your deductible, then you're going to be responsible for a certain amount, and every health insurance plan is different.
Absolutely. I just figured I'd throw that out there just out of curiosity myself. So let's talk about the symptoms. What kind of symptoms do people need to be aware of? And if they have them, when do they need to go see a doctor?
So the most common symptom is blood in your stool or some rectal bleeding. And after that, probably a change in your bowel habits and some abdominal pain. Those do all tend to be sort of later signs unless we're looking at cancers that are very low in the rectum, right up against your sphincter where your bowel movement is coming out. So if you notice any of those things, then you should talk with your doctor to discuss your risk and determine whether you need to proceed immediately with screening or whether there's other tests that they want to do first. The take-home point really is that for the most part, colon cancer doesn't have symptoms until it's further progressed. So staying on top of your screening instead of waiting until you have a problem is the best way to stay healthy.
And that kind of leads me into my next question. How preventable is colon cancer? And are there certain lifestyle changes that you can make to lower your risk of ending up with colon cancer?
So the best way to prevent colon cancer is to get your colonoscopy, which I know I've said like 500 times now. But lifestyle changes, a high fiber diet, which means 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day, is going to help decrease your risk for colon cancer by making sure that all of your colon cells have all of the nutrition that they need. The high fiber diet is going to get all of those good carbohydrates to your colon cells so that they stay happy, and it's also going to keep the normal bacteria that lives in your colon happy. typical American diet is like 3 to 5 grams of fiber a day. Folks who are doing a good job with fruits and vegetables are usually more in the 10 to 15 kind of ballpark. So it's a good idea to take a look at how much fiber you're eating and try and increase from there. There's plenty of ways to get food fiber into your diet, but if a supplement is what works best for you, that's totally good too. The main thing to remember if you are increasing your fiber is to drink plenty of water too, because fiber without water is concrete, and nobody wants that.
That is good advice. That's something that people probably don't think about. And I know that a way that I kind of try to track it, because like you said, a lot of people probably don't even know how much fiber they're getting in their diet. I actually use an app to help me with that. So I know that I'm hitting the amount of protein and carbs and everything to, keep myself healthy. Anything else you want to leave people with before we let you go? I mean, I know, like you were mentioning several times, make sure you're getting that colonoscopy and making those steps to make sure that you're preventing this from developing into something more. Is that kind of the big message you want to leave people with?
That's certainly the most important part of the message, but the other part of the message too is that colonoscopy is not as bad as you're thinking it is. The bowel prep is not fun. You're going to be hanging out with your toilet for the majority of the night before the colonoscopy, but the colonoscopy itself, you get medication to keep you comfortable. And it's just, it's one day out of your life to prevent a whole bunch of misery.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Wright, I appreciate you taking time today to share more about colon cancer, the symptoms, the importance of screening. We appreciate you having on, and hopefully we'll have you back on here again in the near future.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of the day.
All right, let's talk about Wisconsin's Attorney General right now, because this Attorney General is leading a coalition of 23 other attorneys general to urge automakers Kia and Hyundai to do more to safeguard their vehicles. Some models of Kia and Hyundai are highly vulnerable to thefts, as we all know, in the Memphis Mid-South area. So these AGs are calling on both companies to step up security.
I want to also emphasize that this is more than just vehicle theft. The vehicle theft part of this is a major problem and reason enough to respond. But there's more that's happening.
AGs say stolen vehicles are used in more serious crimes, make it very difficult for law enforcement to identify the vehicles. If you're on I-40 this morning, you probably have seen some more state troopers out there. Tennessee Highway Patrol full force. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee promised help was on the way, with Tennessee promoting an aggressive THP recruiting campaign. They're cracking down on reckless driving, other safety concerns like shooting. Action News 5's Joyce Peterson rode along with some of the troopers as they talked about their duties.
Just to see the smiles on some of the citizens' face. They come up and talk to us when they see us out in public, just to see the smile and the gratitude and the thanks and the appreciation, really. It makes us feel like we're doing a good job.
Back in 2020, the Memphis City Council asked Governor Lee to stop sending troopers to Memphis to help stop a rash of interstate shootings. This year, there have been 23 so far, according to MPD. Memphis City Council members are looking to rename that popular White Station Library after Officer Jeffrey Redd. He was shot there last month. He died 2 weeks later. Library was closed for some time after the shooting just recently reopened. Want to say congratulations to the Lady Memphis Tigers after winning the second round of the NIT to Ball State. It's a party at the El Marone Fieldhouse. The Tigers won 79-62. They advanced to the Sweet 16. They've been working on both offense and defense, ready for action.
There have been moments where we felt like we may have been on a roller coaster, and what has never waned is whether or not they wanted to win. And so there are times we may not have played well. There's times where we may not have executed as well as we could have. But there was never a time when I felt like this group of basketball players did not want to win. And that's why their season is still going.
So the Tigers will face Bowling Green in the third round of the NIT. And we are talking about Ja Morant. He will have to just see if he's going to play tomorrow night against the Rockets at FedEx Forum. His 8-game suspension now over. He was with the team last night, only on the sidelines, though. He didn't play, but he was certainly animated on the sidelines. And then when the crowd saw him, they gave him a standing ovation. All right. Researchers say we're seeing some of the deadliest outbreaks of the bird flu among birds in the U.S. Mandy Gaither explains why and has a look at the latest numbers.
The risk to humans remains low, but the latest outbreak of bird flu has killed a record number of poultry,
which is raising the red flag or causing some alarm among researchers, public health, and clinical investigators about the possibility of seeing more cases in humans.
There have been more than 6,300 known cases of bird flu in all 50 states, according to the CDC. But there are probably many more unknown. In 47 states, there have been multiple outbreaks among poultry involving more than 58.5 million birds. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says it's also shown up in some non-commercial backyard flocks as well.
As the virus infects more birds, it may mutate.
Matthew Binnicker, director of clinical virology at Mayo Clinic, says another concern about this strain is that it appears to not only infect birds, but also some mammals in the U.S.,
including seals, mink, fox, bears, being identified to be infected with this strain.
Binnicker says the virus spreads only through direct contact with an infected animal. To prevent exposure, stay away from dead birds.
If you see a bird that has died on your grounds in your property, don't go up and handle the bird, because what we're seeing is that in the few cases of avian influenza among humans, that has been the route.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Research shows an increased interest in adults with ADHD, and the number of diagnoses among adults is growing. Raul Martinez talked with a doctor about the symptoms and ways to manage adult ADHD.
It's a big challenge. A lot of awareness, I think, has been increasing probably since the start of the pandemic.
Right now, about 1 in 25 adults have ADHD.
I think a lot of people think of ADHD in children, like hyperactive, impulsive, disruptive, and it looks different in adults.
Dr. Thor Bergerson is a psychiatrist and founder of ADHD Boston and says the warning signs for adults can include procrastination, lack of concentration, having problems staying organized, following direction, and also having trouble finishing your work on time.
The signs and symptoms are there, and they can be hidden by things like depression and anxiety, because having these symptoms is frustrating. So a lot of people get discouraged and frustrated.
And Dr. Bergerson says there's many ways to help once you're diagnosed. He recommends getting 6 hours of sleep or more, exercising, especially in the morning. It will help you focus. Also eating regularly throughout the day, drinking less caffeine, and getting the right medication.
There's a lot of misinformation about medicines like Ritalin and Adderall, and there's lots of different forms of those, but they're very safe and effective.
Did you know that 1 in 5 people worldwide have inherited high lipoprotein A, and many people don't even know it, which is pretty scary. And that's because it's not something that's screened for, and oftentimes people don't even realize they have it or the first signs of that condition until they have a heart attack or a stroke. And that's why we're really wanting to talk about this morning and let you know all the information you need. And joining us now to share more about it is the Family Heart Foundation founder and CEO Catherine Wileman and Dr. Seth Baum, Chief Scientific Officer for Flourish Research. Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Good morning. Doing well, thank you.
You know, I'm glad to have you on here because, I mean, hearing these numbers, 1 in 5 people worldwide having this and not knowing it, it's pretty alarming. And Catherine, I understand that you had a heart attack, unbelievable, age 39. And, you know, just tell us more about your story and kind of what happened.
Absolutely. So I was out gardening and I developed crushing chest pain and pain radiating down my arm. When I called the paramedics, because I was younger and I also was a female, I really had to advocate for myself for them to take me seriously. But what we discovered was that I had in fact had a heart attack because I had 100% blockage of the main artery that feeds your heart blood. And it took a little while, but I also discovered that the reason I'd had an event so young in life was because I had inherited 2 genetic conditions that led me to be at high risk. One is called familial hypercholesterolemia, which leads to high LDL from birth, and the other is elevated lipoprotein(a), which we're here to talk about today. And as you said, the thing about elevated lipoprotein(a) is that it's incredibly common. We know that about 60 million Americans are living with elevated lipoprotein(a), but what we also know from the Family Heart Foundation research is that less than 1% of Americans have been screened in the last 10 years. And it really shouldn't be that way. With genetic risk for cardiovascular disease, there's so much we can do if we find out early. And so we're really pleased to have this opportunity to talk with you and your audience about it.
And I'm sure that had to have been scary, surprising for you, and just an unbelievable situation. Were you shocked when you realized what was going on?
You know, I have to say it was terrifying. We hear that people are not very afraid of cardiovascular disease, but it still is the #1 killer in the world. And it was a horrible feeling. I felt completely powerless, and you could really feel the pressure of time that you needed the care immediately. So it was a shock.
So, Dr. Baum, I want to bring you in, though, and just talk about what it means if you do have a elevated lipoprotein(a). What does that mean?
Yeah, so elevated LP(a) is a bad thing. First of all, it increases risk maybe 4 times what a normal person would experience. LP(a) is like a very small LDL particle. We know LDL is very bad, causes vascular disease. Well, LP(a) does it. And there are 3 elements to LP(a) that are particularly bad. The first is it causes plaque. That's blockage in the arteries that feed the heart, such as what Catherine had experienced, but it also causes an increase in inflammation and increases the risk of clotting. And all 3 things can conspire to cause stroke and heart attack. We know that it's inherited. So because it's inherited, what that means is if you have an elevated LP(a), you should have your whole family checked. And then finally, I would say that even though we don't have therapeutics to reduce the risk from LP(a), they're in development, they're in research right now, but what we do have are other approaches, such as reducing your LDL cholesterol, something that's not done nearly enough in the United States. We could do that more aggressively in patients with high LP(a).
So, doctor, who should get tested for LP(a), and then how is that done?
Yeah, so I'm a preventive cardiologist, and I believe everybody should be tested for LP(a). It's a simple blood test. You can find out the results very quickly. The Canadians and the Europeans have stipulated in their guidelines that everybody should be checked. We should be doing the same. You can ask your doctor for the test, or frankly, you can ask the Family Heart Foundation for some guidance, and they'll help direct you to how you can get a test.
So, Catherine, I want to talk with you again. You've dedicated your life to raising awareness about heart disease to the public. And let's talk a little bit about what the Family Heart Foundation is doing to create awareness about LP(a).
So all year long, we work with health systems and healthcare providers to put into effect more systematic screening for genetic causes of cardiovascular disease. And we really advocate with policymakers to make sure those who are born at risk have the care they need. But during the month of March, we had the opportunity to go to the public, and we really appreciate this opportunity to talk with your audience to let everybody know that this is something that exists. It's common, it's life-threatening, it's easy to screen for. And so March 24th is LP(a) Awareness Day, and we hope that people will take a minute and think about whether or not they can get screened and whether or not heart disease runs in their family.
This is really important to get out there. Like you said, this is so common, and people don't know about it until they have some kind of major medical issue. Can we talk about where people can go to get some more information and read about some of the things that we've talked about this morning?
Sure. People can go to familyheart.org. We have lots of information on our website. We also have a patient navigation center so people can call and talk to a real person who's trained, if that's their preference, and learn about what they might do to protect themselves and their family.
Well, Catherine, Dr. Baum, I appreciate both of y'all joining me here on the Digital Desk this morning and helping to get the word out about something. Like you said, it's so important that people have the information they need. Y'all have a good one, all right?
Thanks, you too.
Hey, good morning. A weather system bringing some rain into the Mid-South. We'll get 2 rounds, one moving through early this morning, and next one just now making its way through Oklahoma City. So that one will be mostly moving north of us, but will still be some downpours. So let's talk timing. Again, this morning we have rain. You might dry out for a little bit, but then around noon, more showers move in here on First Alert Futurecast, and you'll have that chance for rain continuing on and off through at least 5 o'clock if you're in West Tennessee or Eastern Arkansas. Notice 5 here. We start to see some of that rain clearing, but I bet we'll still have a few isolated downpours, especially up towards Dyersburg and Ripley and going into Blytheville through around midnight and 1 a.m. You may even see a few light spotty showers in some spots tomorrow morning, but then the rest of the day Wednesday looks dry. You may even get a little bit of sunshine tomorrow. 20% chance of rain on Thursday, and then a 60% chance of rain on Friday before we finally clear everything out for the weekend. So let's talk about that Friday rain chance. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Dry as you're kicking off your day, but then those showers start to move in after lunchtime. By 3 o'clock is what you're looking at here. Widespread rain in eastern Arkansas, West Tennessee. Showers starting to arrive in DeSoto County, and then rain is on and off all the way through 7 o'clock at night. May even have a few thunderstorms as this rolls through, especially between 3 and 7. By 11 o'clock, rain continues in West Tennessee and North Mississippi, but it'll be mostly coming to an end as we get closer to midnight. So on Friday, as I mentioned, there is a chance for some thunderstorms. Right now, about a 2 out of 5 for that severe weather risk. So on the lower end, this does include Memphis and the rest of North Mississippi and even some spots in eastern Arkansas. Main threat would be damaging wind gusts. So certainly something we're monitoring, but looking over everything this morning, greatest threat really looks like it's going to be south of us into North Mississippi, something that we'll watch. There's also some heavy rain expected on Friday, about 2 inches in Memphis, could be up to 3 inches in Wynne and Blytheville. This is definitely on the higher side for those rainfall totals, but I always like to prepare for more and then hopefully we get less, right? Flash flooding doesn't look like a major issue, but something that I'll be watching as the system moves through on Friday for sure in the afternoon and into the evening. Today we're at 51 degrees, but a warm front is the reason for the rain tonight and tomorrow. So we'll end up with temperatures rising overnight. It'll be around 52 initially, but by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, probably around 60. The high tomorrow is 70 degrees, 75 on Thursday, and then 71 on Friday. And that cold front on Friday really not going to do much to temperatures. We'll drop down to around 52 on Friday night, so we get a little cooler for those low temperatures compared to the night before, but high temperatures still at around 70 degrees on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, March 30th marks World Bipolar Day. It's also the birthday of Vincent van Gogh, who was posthumously diagnosed as having bipolar disorder. And let's talk a little bit ahead of World Bipolar Day with someone who knows a lot about the disorder, Dr. Gustavo Alva, a psychiatrist board certified by the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology, joining us on the digital desk. Dr. Alva, good morning. Can you provide a little bit of background on bipolar disorder, what it is and what to look for, that sort of thing?
I'm happy to describe this for you. So bipolar disorder is a brain disorder that causes unusual changes with not just mood, but also behavior. Not an uncommon condition. 6 million adult Americans are affected by bipolar disorder, which means that about 2.1% of Americans will live with bipolar 1 disorder in their lifetime. And as the term implies, we see that there are episodes defined by manic episodes as well as depressive episodes when people experience bipolar 1 disorder.
So it sounds like it's much more prevalent these days in the U.S., Doctor. What are some signs and perhaps some symptoms of bipolar disorder?
Well, some of the symptomatology goes along these lines. When people with bipolar 1 disorder are experiencing a manic episode, they might experience a lot of energy. They might not need to sleep as much. They might have a ton of racing thoughts that are ripping through their head, and they might act out with reckless behaviors that don't necessarily take into consideration the consequences that will ensue from certain acts. That then gets followed by a depressive episode in which people experience the opposite: low energy, social withdrawal. Obviously, this might lead towards feelings of isolation and being misunderstood. And that's where clinicians like myself might be able to help patients with bipolar 1 disorder stabilize so that they can in turn pursue their goals, careers, and relationships.
How can patients be more empowered to manage this disorder? I mean, you know, initially when someone was diagnosed with bipolar disorder many years ago, it was a pretty brutal diagnosis, but now there's much more treatment available, and I know that people know more about the disorder today than ever before.
Which is critical, right? Obviously, for people to have a voice in their mental health management is probably going to land them the best outcome. So speaking with one's healthcare provider is always going to be the best option. As we speak openly about mental health, we not only educate others, but we also help fight off stigma. And this is a treatable medical condition, and it's something that can actually be dealt with quite effectively.
As a healthcare provider, doctor, how do you determine which treatment is best for those patients with bipolar disorder?
Well, everyone's a bit different, but clinicians like myself will typically approach a patient with bipolar 1 disorder and offer them an oral medication. Now, keep in mind that once somebody's been stabilized, the options then grow. So somebody that's been stabilized with bipolar 1 disorder might be offered a long-acting injectable. And the beauty with that is that now people don't necessarily have to worry about taking their medicine on a daily basis and can now focus on other areas of their life. So it's really important for people to be well in tune with the options that are there for them and, you know, how we might be able to manage this condition best. In lieu of World Bipolar Day, learnmorebp1.com is a great resource for individuals to seek out more information. So learnmorebp1.com is a site I would definitely recommend.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about where people can get more information. You said bp1.com. Anywhere else?
Yeah, so it's learnmorebp1.com. But certainly the National Institute of Mental Health offers a lot of different resources. But for this particular endeavor of World Bipolar Day, learnmorebp1.com, I think offers a phenomenal source for more information.
So with World Bipolar Day approaching, is there anything that people can do to maybe mark the significance of that day?
Absolutely. We talk about Vincent van Gogh. There's other people that are more contemporary, right? So when you take a look at people like Winston Churchill, other individuals that are highly notable, now these are individuals that have garnered a fair amount of attention, but they experienced a brain disorder that was causing changes with mood and behavior. And the nice thing, as you stated earlier, is that we have a better approach in dealing with this. But the important thing is empowering individuals with appropriate education and helping fight stigma.
No question about it. All right, Dr. Gustavo Alva, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us this insight when it comes to bipolar disorder ahead of Bipolar Disorder Day. Thanks very much.
Amanda Hansen here at the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Did you know each year approximately 35,000 people in the U.S. are diagnosed with multiple myeloma, and of that, more than 20% of all cases occur in Black people? And although patients within the Black communities are less likely to have a more aggressive form of the disease, they are twice as likely to die from multiple myeloma because it often goes undetected and it is spread and progressed. So joining me now to talk more about a new campaign out there raising awareness, we have Tiffany Williams and Teresa Elam Walker joining us. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. How are you doing?
Good morning. Doing well. Thank you.
I'm glad that we're talking about this topic because I believe it is so important for people here in the Memphis area to hear this and raise awareness. There's a new campaign we're going to talk more about. It's called That's My Word, driving some of that awareness. But I know both of you have been impacted by multiple myeloma different ways. But Tiffany, I'd like to start with you. I know that you were diagnosed with multiple myeloma at the age of 46. Can you talk to me about how you found out about that diagnosis and maybe some of the symptoms that you experienced that led you to your doctor?
Sure. It was a sudden and severe onset of back pain that led to my diagnosis. It was the first thing that clued me in that something wasn't right. I knew that it wasn't just, I hurt my back, I pulled something, and I listened to that intuition and that pain, and I made an appointment to be checked out. As you mentioned, Black people are disproportionately impacted by multiple myeloma, and I was 46 years old, much younger than the average non-Black person diagnosed with multiple myeloma, and I just knew something wasn't right. The more common symptoms for multiple myeloma are bone pain, fatigue, and frequent infections. And those are just a few of the common symptoms. And not everyone presents that way. So I say it's really important to listen to your body.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is just listening to your body and then you take action. Because I think a lot of times some people are like, oh, it's nothing, this is just going to go away. But you took action and you got that early detection. How was that so beneficial for you when it came to treatment and that sort of thing?
I think it was super beneficial. I think I'm here this morning able to share my story with you 9.5 years later, because I listened and I acted, and I was diagnosed early, and treatment was initiated early. Those are all things that lead to better outcomes. And as you mentioned, it's an incurable cancer, but treatable. And when we can treat early and diagnose early and treat early, I think that leads to really good outcomes. And I think it's critical.
And you're a support leader for a support group now. Can you talk to me about some of the things that maybe you have emphasized to people that are dealing with this and being a leader of a group like that?
Yeah, sure. I would say the most important message I have for my support group members, as well as anyone I meet with multiple myeloma, is to have a multiple myeloma specialist leading your care team. It is critical towards better outcomes and longer lifespan, potentially.
Well, Tiffany, I appreciate you sharing your story and just, where you are now, what you're doing, and how you're helping others that are dealing with this as well. Tricia, I know that your brother was diagnosed very young age, 48 years old. Some people might know him, Guru, famous American rapper, also record producer, and had multiple myeloma, and at 48, just a few months after he was diagnosed. Can you talk to me about your story and what you experienced with your brother, and just share a little background on that with our viewers this morning?
Sure. So my brother, as you mentioned, passed away at the age of 48 from multiple myeloma. I actually don't know when he was diagnosed because he chose not to share that information, and he also did not receive treatment. So one of the reasons I'm involved in this campaign, and it's so important to me, is to really urge folks, particularly members of the Black community, Black men, to take those steps, get the diagnosis, get the early treatment, because this didn't have to happen. So it's heartbreaking for our family, but it's definitely made us more aware and more proactive in terms of our own health. Tiffany talked about the various symptoms. What happened with me is I had a regular blood test that indicated I had a low white blood cell count. And that's something that could potentially lead to multiple myeloma, particularly because there's also a genetic aspect to this disease. And so once they knew that my brother had passed away from that, I had to have more tests. And it's something that I have to constantly check every 3 months in terms of my blood cell count. So, this is really important information to get out to folks. To not be afraid to go to the doctor, to check everything out on a regular basis, and to take action.
And I think it's incredible to hear about just how you're taking action now to help get the word out about this campaign, and for people to make sure that they are taking those little things that they notice with their body seriously. And just, I'm so sorry about what happened with your brother and the way it's impacted you. I do want to talk about this campaign, though, because I know it's something that you're passionate about being involved in. It's called That's My Word. So can you share a little bit more about this campaign and what they're really doing to try to raise that awareness about this?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for your kind words. Yes, this campaign is so important because it is about educating, spreading the word about the illness, about the disease, and about the fact, as Tiffany talked about, that with early diagnosis and early treatment, one can go on and live a long golden life as she's doing. So it doesn't have to, people don't have to end up the way my brother did. And so it's really important. And that's what this campaign is doing. It's spreading the word. It's asking people to join with us, spreading the word, getting their own information, finding out about multiple myeloma, and taking action. Visiting us at that'smywordmm.com, following on social media at that'smywordmm, and being a part of this and spreading it in their community and among their family members.
I really appreciate both of y'all coming on here, sharing your story. I know it's not always easy to probably talk about these things, but it does have a major impact in getting the word out and helping others that are out there. Tiffany, if we have you there, any last thoughts you want to leave our viewers with today before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, thank you. I would, again, encourage people to go to those sites and make your own personal pledge. If you are impacted or living with multiple myeloma, or you love someone who's living with multiple myeloma, join the campaign and help us to increase awareness to improve outcomes in our community.
Well, Tiffany, Tricia, I appreciate both of y'all coming here on the Action News 5 digital desk and really spreading the message about something that's so important to so many people right here in the Memphis area and beyond. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, it is Tuesday morning, and when we have a Tuesday, not only is the club going up on a Tuesday, but so is Talisa Franklin. She's with us at WAVN The Trend. Talisa, good morning. How's it going?
Amazing. It's a great morning, and even greater because I'm talking to you.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, I appreciate it. Feel the same way. Tell me some of the events that you got going on. I see we have a couple of them.
We do. Listen, this Friday night, I am inviting people to the Kickback, baby. Well, the Kickback is an initiative. The Lord really showed it to me last week, and I called on a couple men that's in our community and said, listen, I need you to invest some time in some other young boys so they can be what we know that they are called to be. And so this Friday night, for boys and men only. And I just want to invite people out, right? So if you are a man and you have some valuable resources, valuable time, some valuable words that you can share and drop some deposits in some young boys, I want to see your face in the place. If you are a single mom or grandma or auntie or uncle, and you have a young boy in your family and you just really want somebody to talk to them and hopefully steer them on that right direction, listen, I need you to bring them, drop them off. We have a space for you to wait because this space will be for men and boys. And so the women, y'all come, we got a space for y'all. Y'all gonna hang out and just talk to me. We just gonna have girl time, right? But we really want to take an opportunity for these boys and these men to have real life conversations, right? And then they're going to have food, and they're going to have fun, and they're going to have fellowship because not only that they're going to have fun, but they're going to have those real life conversations with brothers that have survived so many different things that maybe came from challenges communities, maybe came from a challenge home, maybe didn't see no hope in the beginning. Now they want to inspire you for hope. So these are men inspiring boys. It's happening this Friday night at my church in Willing Souls Church in Douglas area. Listen, in 38108 community, I need you. If you know that you are a man and you said, Talisa, I love this, I got to be a part. Listen, we know the problem. We see the problem, what's happening with our young men. But the answer is, are you doing anything? Are you investing any of your time to change the life of one young man? And so what ultimately happen is you won't be in the church setting. We'll be sitting at tables and we'll have some chess and we'll have some checkers and some board games and some food. And that's going to give you real men an opportunity to talk to that next young man and see how you can impart some positive things in him. Because what we don't want to see and to continue to see is our young men going down the wrong road. And you men that have survived terrified from going down the wrong road, or you know you have something valuable, or you got a son that's going in the right direction, you may want to bring you and your son so you other young men can see your son or what it looks like to have a positive reaction. Andrew, it is so critical that we do what we need to do for our children.
Yeah, no question about it, Talisa. I 100% agree. I've been a part of these events in the past, and they are so important. I mean, you know, boys need a father figure of some sort. And so here's an opportunity for free, as you mentioned, to really find a father figure, a mentor out there that can kind of guide them. And this world is so complicated, and to have someone that they can rely upon to guide them is so good.
Yeah, and so that's why I encourage everybody, listen, come out to the kickback on this Friday night. Call me. Y'all got my number. Call me. The number is on the flyer. If there's anything value that you say, Talisa, we need to add, just call me. It's open for suggestions. Andrew, I just had an idea, and I wanted to see people come together to help our young boys. You know, my son, and I have a 16-year-old son, and I'm so grateful for the mentors that's in his life and the men that's in his life and his father that is in his life. But there's so many of our brothers and young men don't have that, right? And so what can we do as a village? The village got to make sure we keep them going. So listen, this Friday, y'all, it's the kickback. It's the kickback. Y'all need to see y'all in the place on Friday at my church in the Douglas community. And then, Andrew, you know what time it is. It's getting close to Juneteenth, baby. And tickets go on sale on tomorrow. Oh, I'm so excited. At the Halloran Center, Juneteenth the musical. You want to see a stage play, a musical stage play, performances by Young Actors Guild under the direction of the amazing artistic director, Christy Chandler. Let me tell you, Juneteenth the musical, family, you better get your tickets. Tickets goes on sale tomorrow at Ticketmaster. Listen, Juneteenth the musical is at the Halloran Center, the 10th of June. It's a Saturday for 2 shows, a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m. Listen, our young people, all people gonna be on that stage showing the reenactment of why we all should celebrate Juneteenth. So tickets go on sale tomorrow. I'm telling y'all, it will sell out, both shows. So go ahead and grab your tickets tomorrow when they go on sale on the Ticketmaster app. So it's going to be a great year. Juneteenth is doing great things. For all the things Juneteenth, y'all know what to do, right? Go to our website, memphisjuneteenth.com. I am the proud president of the Memphis Juneteenth Festival, and we're doing so many things this month for June. Why? Because we're celebrating 30 years right here in the city of Memphis, and we are going to have an amazing time of letting people know why you should commemorate and celebrate Juneteenth.
These are some great events, Talisa. Each and every time we talk, you tell me about these great events, and I know that you're all about Juneteenth, and it's such a great celebration. And what I like to remind people is that we were doing Juneteenth years, decades before everybody else were. I mean, it's kind of the hot, trendy thing to talk about right now, and have events marking the occasion. We were doing this 20 plus years ago.
You know, Andrew, I tell people, I was telling the mayor the other day, I said, you know, Mayor, we've been doing Juneteenth in Memphis with a spirit of excellence. Before it was a hashtag, before it was a national holiday, before it was cool, and he just started, I said, listen, that's just my saying now. We were doing Juneteenth before it was cool and a hashtag, because Memphis is that city that is all about change and pulling people together, and that's what Memphis is all about. Listen, Memphis Juneteenth turned 30 years, and let me tell you, there are so many great celebrations that is happening here in the city of Memphis. Listen, I lead a lot of them, and I know I do, and I'm grateful that I do, but there's so many other people that is leading Juneteenth. And listen, if you know that you are one of those people, that you have not connected with me, make sure, because I want to make sure you have a toolkit so the whole city of Memphis can celebrate Juneteenth inclusive and with equity for all.
All right, despite the economic downturn, there is a new report out there that shows private equity is boosting local businesses, and we want to bring in someone to talk about this particular investment. More specifically, let's bring in now Jamal Hagler. He's Vice President of Research for American Investment Council. Jamal, thanks for joining us on the Digital Desk. Tell us exactly what private equity is and how it's different from other investments. Good morning.
Well, Andrew, good morning, and thank you for having me. So private equity is different than other investments because with private equity investors give money, but they also provide their expertise. They roll up their sleeves and they help businesses navigate any challenges or anything that may come their way. Additionally, they help to open up new supply chains as well as find additional avenues for sales. So private equity managers really partner with the businesses that they purchase to help them grow and create jobs throughout the country.
Yeah, I mean, so many business owners look for support during the pandemic, and I guess this was one of the ways that they could get support from some of the private sector there. What are the benefits, private equity businesses and investments in Tennessee? What are some of those benefits, and what are some examples where private equity backed companies in our state here?
Wow. In 2022 alone, about $19 billion was invested in Tennessee and 148 companies, companies like True Green and Southern Towing Company. And that capital helps businesses to navigate any challenges that they would encounter. It also is helpful to build new facilities, hire new employees, look for new avenues of new products, and additional helping with lowering cost of supplies and things of that nature.
So let me ask you this, Jamal. We've been talking about how the private equity has been helping some of these businesses. Can you tell us about this report that we're hearing about with some of the key findings? Apparently, this is the new report from the American Investment Council. Tell me that.
Yes. So I think the number one takeaway is that private equity invests in every state and every congressional district throughout the country. Additionally, I think while many people think of private equity and may think of larger businesses, the vast majority of investments are in smaller businesses. 46% of investments went to companies with 100 employees or less, and approximately 62% of investments went to small businesses. So I think one thing that people should remember is that private equity helps small businesses grow and expand and reach new horizons.
Let's talk about elected leaders and how they can help facilitate private equity investments in our area, not just Tennessee, but of course we broadcast to areas of Mississippi and in Arkansas.
Well, I think the number one thing is stability. I think you can't change the rules of the road in the middle. And I think, things that would disrupt what's already known and can affect the ability to invest and the ability to put capital to work to benefit communities, workers, and businesses alike.
Okay, Jamal, is there any place where people can go and get some more information on what we discussed and perhaps do a deep dive for themselves?
Absolutely. If you want to check out the report, please go to investmentcouncil.org.
Okay, Jamal Hagler, Vice President of Research for the American Investment Council. We appreciate your time, Jamal. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
That does it for us here in the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day. We got Action News 5 Midday coming up at the top of the hour for you with Ariana Poindexter. And then you can join us bright and early tomorrow morning for another edition of the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We'll see you then.